and welcome again to Eunuch Corner Club. We are live with special guest Evidence Violates Community Guidelines and co-hosts Zenn-Chan and Kizza-GT. I'm sure many of you will remember Evidence Violates Community Guidelines. He has been on, I think, 6 weeks ago. Does that sound right, Evidence? You might be muted. You can talk now. There you go.
I was just saying that I sometimes feel disconnected from the space-time continuum of 2020, but 6 weeks, that works. I trust you on that.
I think it was around then. I don't know. It could have been a little longer. Today we are going to have a stream talking about hot button issues, primarily lockdown and the United States election. The things I want to talk about around these issues, you might have heard on other streams, but it's important to me, and I want to hear what my community and my co-hosts think, as well as Evidence Violates Community Guidelines. So anything that you guys would like to say as I introduce you, please go ahead and belch it out before we get started, and take your time as people spill in. We're going to go ahead and start with Kizza-GT, my primary co-host and sidekick. How are you doing today, my friend? Remember to unmute yourself, by the way. Oh, Lord.
Hold on. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Hello all.
Great start.
Yes.
Great start. Off to a great start.
Well,
today.
it was muted on the it was muted on Streamlabs, not on my end. So my mistake. Anyway, guys.
No worries.
So yeah, as I was saying, yes, I'm doing well. Minus freaking people being twats, lighting off fireworks, which is scaring my puppy.
Oh well, hopefully that'll calm down. Is it protest related? Is the fireworks stuff protest related?
No. I mean, we are a week away from bonfire night, so.
Yeah, no, this is effectively our 4th of July time of the year. We do just have basically the entirety of October and leading the start of November. There will always just be sporadic fireworks. In fact,
remember the 5th of November.
Indeed, very much so.
Even though.
No, I was going to say, I will tell you, during a stream a few weeks ago, I believe it was during one of Harrian's Among Us streams, I had to basically duck and cover slightly because I shit you not, a firework hit the tower block next to mine, and I kind of just went, "Oh my, it's happening!"
Did you think the Germans were shelling you?
I thought I thought some rather suspect things from 2001 were about to be reenacted, but
all right. This is, of course, my secondary co-host, Zenn. Zenn has filled in the gap for Carnal, because Carnal backed off to focus on his family and his own work. I see some usual faces in the chat already. Hello, Alex. Hello, Jack. Good to have you guys back again. And that leads us to our special guest today, Evidence Violates Community Guidelines. EVCG, how are you today, my friend?
Hey, folks. I'm doing okay, all in all. Sometimes I feel like a microcosm of 2020's craziness. Feeling a little on edge with November 3 approaching. Thinking more and more about my near and distant people.
Yep.
So I'm doing all right, but I can't deny that there's some tension given the bigger macrocosmic socio-political picture.
Yeah, I think everybody, especially those of us in the Anglosphere, really feel it. So I have a bookkeeping announcement for the viewers and everyone before we get started here. I am going to drop Streamlabs from the lineup. I have had Streamlabs for 13 months, and I've been advertising it for about 12 months, and I have gotten a single $5 donation on Streamlabs in a year. So I'm no longer going to be using Streamlabs. That's just one less thing I have to keep up with, and one less thing I have to run with each stream. So thank you to Al Hizzy, whoever you are, for the $5 donation you gave me a month or two ago on Streamlabs. You are the one and only Streamlabs donation I've ever gotten. So I thought I had another one, but I looked into the history of it, and no, apparently that's the only one I've ever gotten. So Thank you, but that is the end of Streamlabs for my channel. I'm going to focus on Entropy, PayPal, and Cash App, and if you want to subscribe, I have Subscribestar. So I'm going to stick with that. So that's all the bookkeeping out of the way. Today, I think it will be best for us to start off talking about lockdown things, because that is going to step into what I want to talk about in regards to the election and what's going on in America. So, yes, Kizza just brought up the Discord in the live chat. Yes, we can talk on Discord, and yes, over on DLive Holly9, the chat is working properly. I see you. If you want to be a part of my Discord, you can join my Discord. I will be putting my username that you can message or add as a friend on Discord. It's a new one I had to make since I recently lost my other one. Let's see, 6584. And me and the others just recently put together the Discord server again that I lost. So if you'd like to be a part of that, you can. It's small but growing. Send me a message, and I personally vet anyone who let in. I don't have public access. So, all right, that is my username in the YouTube chat, and now I'm going to fire it off over on DLive, and there it goes on DLive as well. So, now that we have bookkeeping out of the way, hello Vera, good to see you here today, my love. This is my loyal Yizraelite Vera from California coming to say hello in the chat today. Hello, hello. I see some other familiar faces. We have Alex, 14, my man. John D, and Holly over on DLive. And then the usuals I've already mentioned on... we have a few more popping up. I'm going to have to stop naming people as they come up or we'll never get through this. We're going to move on from that for now. And we are going to go first to my friend Kizza. Kizza, tell me about how the lockdowns and the looming second lockdown have been affecting people in your immediate area, and pontificate on how you think that's going to affect an area larger than yours in the UK, pretty please.
Okay, so basically, a couple of weeks ago, Zen can vouch for this. The government of my island decided to push a three-tier system regarding lockdowns, and it was based on depending on the areas in question. Now, where I live, it recently got added to the list of tier 2s, which is not much of a difference between tier 1 and tier 2.
I will say one of the big differences is once you're in tier 2, anybody else entering your home is now illegal. You cannot go into each other's homes. That's one of the primary things of tier 2, which has gotten at my wick, because it means none of my family will come to my house anymore. So it's just me and my girlfriend.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, I have it on screen now. Everyone should be able to see it pretty well. Mm-hmm. But I've just realized I prioritized it in the wrong browser. So I'm going to have to close that down. My bad. Because I put it in the browser that I'm using here. So that's not going to work. We're going to have to do that.
I was about to say, you may want to hide away your PayPal, by the way. Be careful there.
Yeah, sorry.
Hide where I live? What?
Sorry, I just got DM'd on Discord, yes. But a lot of places got added to T2, and when the system came in, Liverpool and most of York and a good chunk of Yorkshire was put in tier 3, which is basically the type of lockdown we had back in March. So you basically can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming that that's going to be in effect in Scotland, Wales, and England, correct?
Wales.
Wales did go into a complete national lockdown, which is still to go until the 9th of November.
Oh, goodness.
Wales has been at sociopathic levels. Yes. It's quite worrying.
All right, that should have gotten it. There we go. Now,
so one thing
be on screen now.
One thing you'll notice is there is no low. You start at medium.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up. Yeah. I was going to say, we see here that according to this new 3-tier system, everyone is always on moderate alert for this. There is nothing lower than moderate alert.
They have to keep the fear.
I find that astounding.
They have to keep the fear. It's terrifying, and the level of which government, MPs have been just incredibly dodging of questions has been very worrying. There was I think it was an MP. I'm trying to remember. It was someone who was like official, was on with Julia Hartley Brewer a few days ago, and she basically said, "Well, we've got concrete figures as to what causes a area to go from one tier to the higher one, but you've not shown any you've not given any explanation as to how one goes down a tier." And he basically completely dodged the question. He just went, "Oh well, it really depends on the situation. It depends on the place," and basically did not give any answer, as if to say you can't go down. It's effectively steering to a place where we will all be in tier 3 eventually, because they have given no way, they've given no path for you to go down a tier.
Kizza?
Yes,
Evidence?
I mean, it
Anything?
is. I mean, me personally, this whole thing is utterly ridiculous, and it still makes me laugh to this very day. Why couldn't my government, especially being an island, couldn't enforce the most logical conclusion when there is a pandemic virus from a foreign country and has to terminate international travel?
Yeah, I don't understand what, like, that's one of the primary things that I thought was ludicrous from the very beginning of all of this. If you do have some kind of possible pandemic situation and you know where ground zero was, at least terminate travel to that country and consider terminating all travel for a month until you figure out what's going on. But to my knowledge, only a couple of places all over the world did that, right?
Yeah, from what I understand, it was Japan, South Korea, and I believe New Zealand all did that before February
Didn't
the 1st.
Taiwan do it too? Or did they just
yes, of
terminate
course,
travel
Taiwan.
from
Yes.
China? Okay.
I think Taiwan, it might have been China first, but they might have done it all together because, obviously
I
history.
encourage everyone to, instead of saying China, we should call it mainland Taiwan or separatist Taiwan.
We have a super chat
just
in Entropy.
Or just unconquered, or unconquered Hong Kong, as I like to call
it.
Occupied Taiwan is also acceptable.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Or Winnie the Pooh's Wonderful Mystery Land.
I'm not gonna lie.
Country name.
I'm not gonna lie. I would be more than happy to just simply refer to China as the 100-acre wood, and that's it.
That's what it's called. I forgot where Winnie the Pooh lived.
Poppy
Oh no, I played Kingdom Hearts not long ago for the first time, and I didn't have much nostalgia because I didn't watch much of like the early Disney, and then they get to the Winnie the Pooh segment, and I'm like, oh no, this is my childhood. This is lovely. So yes, no, we have a super chat in the Entropy.
I'm pretty happy with that.
100 Poppy Field.
I agree with silence in the chat. It is fun to say China. China. Over on DLive, Holly and John D are with us, and they both agree that the lockdown is pretty farcical for reasons I covered in a recent video of mine this week, which, if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. I bring up the flu statistics, how in places that have had a lot of COVID, they have also had a lot of not flu, and I find that very peculiar.
Yes,
on top
we had that recently, yeah.
A lot of, like lung failure, organ failure, the normal types of quote-unquote dying with old age, massive drop in those numbers too. But what goes on the death certificate? We've seen a bunch of COVID, right? So it's like, I mean, I even doubt that a lot of the actual deaths caused or exacerbated by COVID are even being filed properly on the documentation. It's it really gets the old noggin jogging.
Well,
if you know what I mean.
It's what we've been saying all along, is that most of the people dying of COVID are people that were going to get killed by flu regardless, and COVID's basically just done flu's job for it.
Yeah, it's basically a bad. It's like a bad flu. It's like a bad flu with worse lung involvement that we don't have a flu shot for. So of course it's going to be bad, but it's really only going to hit the demographic that gets hit bad by flu anyway. And what's the average age of death, even with the inflated COVID numbers, like 80, something like that? Like, it's crazy.
Between 79 to 82, from what I heard. But what makes me laugh is somehow over 90% of influenza rates have we've somehow got over 90% reduction in influenza.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like, what the hell? So either something's off about the thing or something else.
Also, and I don't think I've brought this up recently on this stream. I've brought it up in other places, but it's just the level of just changing history is ridiculous. A few weeks back, there was some I need to go back and find who it was, but there was someone speaking in Parliament, and they said, "Oh, we can stop this virus. We've proven we can stop this virus." And I'm just sat here like, no, you didn't. You proved you can't. You said
Yeah,
we're going to have a
exactly.
3-week lockdown, and that lockdown will extend until it makes a difference, and that quickly extended into something like 3-4 months, which effectively is proving no, the lockdown didn't do anything. Also, we were constantly getting badgered back in March that, oh, we took 2 extra weeks to go into lockdown as opposed to the rest of Europe. And hey, wouldn't you look at that? Europe are having just as bad a second wave as we are.
What really takes the hog's tit with all of this is over in the UK specifically, I know they had the citizens locked down. They told you that you couldn't work. Then they import bloody migrants to do necessary labor.
I heard about that, and that pissed me off.
What the hell was that all about? It's like, oh, our citizens must stay inside to protect them. They're going to lose their jobs and they can't pay rent. But we are going to facilitate migrants coming in to do cheap labor while you guys are being commanded to stay at home. Like, how does one not immediately want to go hang every politician for that? Like, it's just crazy.
Well, I won't say anything on your YouTube for fear of anything, but let's just say I've been teetering on the edge since March, really, and the further this goes, the worse I get. So, the less said about that, the better. But
yeah,
all the price of a ticket to London.
I have a feeling we've been talking over our guest again. Evidence, do you have anything to share about all this?
Yeah, a couple things regarding that politician who said that the Dos Equis virus goes in only one direction. If that's the case, when are we going to see a death rate that would justify people being fearful? Right now, people are surviving at over 99%. Wouldn't that be at least low medium? But there's no low medium option. There's not even a diet COVID option. There's just medium. They should start doing
COVID zero, right?
Right. Yeah. Ground COVID.
And we haven't talked about Christmas yet, because just the level of double think.
We'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, if you got that planned, fair enough.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. The thing about the alert system that we're looking at here, like if you look there in the middle, no rule of 6. Okay, no household mixing indoors.
Yeah.
And there's still a step past that. Like, to me, that is already a ludicrous and insane amount of lockdown just to try to stop a sickness. And there's even a step beyond that. And they've said that they might even have to amend this list or add a 4th step in the future already. So it's like, what? This new normal, this great reset shit, this is clearly mind control over the masses at this point, because none of the scientific data, even the data that mainstream sources, the approved cathedral sources are giving us,
oh my God,
would be logical underpinning to take these actions. Agree or disagree, panel? Take turns.
Oh, I'm looking over this and just, I've only just looked at this tier list because, like, I've not actually needed to.
It cut off at my end.
Oh,
I didn't hear you. Say again.
He needs you to repeat what you said earlier because it's cutting off from.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay,
what exactly did you miss?
I think I'm lagging. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Lord.
I think I'm lagging badly. Sorry.
Oh dearie me.
Hang on. I'll be back. Hold on.
All right.
I'll continue with the point I was making. So I've not actually looked at the actual legal rules of this, because here's the thing. Again, I don't have a job. I've got a fairly, like, close-knit family, so I don't give a shit what they're telling me. It doesn't make a difference to my life. But I'm only not. So basically, it was the rules that I'd been told was just, when you're in tier 2, you can't meet people in each other's homes. When you're in tier 3, it's even worse, basically. But I'm just looking at this. So you'll note that if you look at very high, it says rule of 6 applies in outdoor public spaces like parks. But That's the same as high and medium. In medium, follow the rule of 6 if meeting indoors or outdoors. High, rule of 6 will apply outdoors. It's as if in high, they are acting as if in medium you could meet outdoors and ignore the rule of 6. But no, in high it goes, now the rule of 6 applies outdoors. But it did in medium. Do you understand what I'm pointing out?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a double think to be like, aha, you see, now it's getting worse. It's like, no, it's always been this bad. What the fuck? But yeah, basically the big change in very high is literally other people aren't allowed to come to the areas in tier 3. Like they are actually
evidence. You don't have to reveal to us where you live, but if you could, can you tell us generally where you live?
I've said I'm happy to say I'm in the sort of Newcastle Gateshead area.
Not you. I said evidence. Not
oh,
Zen.
sorry.
I am out west in the Rocky Mountain region.
Okay. Where you live, do you live in one of the big city parts or in one of the rural parts?
I live more out in the country.
Okay. Do you see any lockdown insanity interfering with your daily life or the trade around you?
Not a whole lot. A couple of the bigger stores here have required employees and patrons wear masks, but some people don't. I don't wear one, and I haven't had anyone make an issue about it. Really, this whole thing, regardless where we live, it really seems like a worldwide Soviet show trial trying to get a witness to deny as much reality as possible.
Yes, I completely agree. I definitely think that is what we are seeing. Welcome back, Kizza. Are you stable now?
It should be stable now. I'm not sure what happened there. I think it was just a bit of
all right.
Internet pajazzles.
What evidence was just saying
you're
that
getting me okay?
In his area, he hasn't seen a lot of interference, and the we're talking about mask and lockdown impact of people's personal lives. Similar to your experience, in the rural area I live, most people carry masks, but they either wear them around their necks or they just have them in their pocket. And unless it's a place where you see a lot of people, like if I go quote unquote into town, like a lot of rural people say, "Oh, I'm going into town today," it means you're going to the small city area near where your rural area is. When I go quote unquote into town, I do see a lot more people wearing masks and stuff. So it seems like the farther away you get from metropolitan areas, the more people sort of have the, I'm just going to carry this for posterity's sake, or if I have to wear it to go into a business, as opposed to people that live in more frequented areas. I see people driving around with masks on in their car. I see people sitting on the phone outside of businesses, taking their masks on and off to smoke a cigarette while they're by themselves. And I'm just like, this mind cancer has even gotten out to the middle of nowhere now. And just going back 3 or 4 months ago, it wasn't like that here. So it's like, just like you said with Soviet tactics, it feels like they're going to extend this lockdown and push this new normal further and further and further, just to see how much, just to see how many of us are actually trained monkeys. And it's disturbing how many of us seem to be.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's a question. What's the point? Because it's the one people always go back to, as the most easy answer is, oh, is it something with money? It's like, no, we've sacrificed our entire world's economy on an altar for this, unless it's specifically to give Amazon money. I mean, it's bleeding government's coffers dry. What's the point?
Well, keep in mind, governments and those who own multinational trade conglomerates or who bankroll them, they view acceptable losses if it gives them ultimate power. Like, what do you think has been behind the great wars of the last 100 years? Like, they will spend money to make money. They will spill blood to have power. And I don't think it's any different now. They just know that it's harder to get away with actually spilling blood in the modern era. And it's a lot easier to get people to be scared and think that certain groups have their best interest at heart, to get them to willingly walk into chains. That's my opinion. That's why I think we're seeing a lot of this lockdown continue, and then the constant gaslighting over the statistics, the constant lies that were fed by all the official channels, all the mainstream media, politicians coming out, all the corporations doing their COVID virtue signaling. It is unreal to witness, like Evidence said earlier, a real Soviet-style lockdown on Western peoples. It's really heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm. It's miserable, and the fact that we have barely anyone actually speaking out about it is kind of terrifying. The fact that no one seems to care, basically, and it's. I suppose if we're gonna go with the thing, if it's fuck the economy, it's just power. It is fostering a culture of fear among people.
Well, real money is power. Like, you can buy governments, and you can buy soldiers. So that's power.
Yeah.
And like Vera said in the chat just a minute ago, it's like in 1984 where they wanted him to admit that 2 + 2 = 5. That's what they're doing to us with the COVID lockdown. Because you can say, instead of 2 + 2 = 4, you can say, but this has the same numbers as flu. Swine flu was worse, and we didn't lock down for that. And then they beat you and say, wear the mask, bigot. Like, it's just, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, to reference the saying, those who make you such absurdities will be able to make you commit such atrocities.
Yes, very well said. That sounds very Soviet. Is that Soviet?
No, I'm pretty certain.
Commentary on the Soviets, rather.
No, I'm pretty certain that's a reference to 1984 itself.
Okay, because I knew I'd heard it before. I haven't read 1984 since, I think, 1990, 1991. It's one of the first books.
But it mainly says that it's absurd to think 2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah.
If they can make you believe that, what else could they make you believe in?
Exactly.
If we realize that if we try to take humanity's freedoms, they resist. We had to make humanity give up their freedoms willingly. And when history did not cooperate, history was changed. I'm going to have that engraved on my fucking tombstone at this rate.
I mentioned something over on BeLive that's important to bring up. We're going to segue into election talk for a little bit now. Trump has hinted on Twitter and when talking recently, I think it was at the Public Square event, but I could be wrong, about wanting to reopen the entire country and maybe even use executive orders to completely end lockdown stuff for the country. And him just talking about that has already made the stock market start to improve. So I think that as much as we don't trust Trump in my community here, I do think that if he does this, it will be an overall good for us, because I don't care who's in whose pocket, but at the end of the day, if our country stays locked down and we all suffer, whoever ends that is doing a good for us. So hopefully that will be a good thing.
Before we can move on, I just wanted to point out, because I tried to point out earlier, but Silence is Leaden gave 5 Great British pounds over on Entropy, and he said, re-face nappies / diapers, do you think there's a real chance that some people will keep wearing them purely out of habit in the unlikely event that these restrictions are lifted? I don't think it'll be out of habit. I think it will be out of, at that point, political ideology. It's there's a reason that...
Legislation.
No. I don't think he's saying that. He's like, even when law is gone, when the laws are gone, will people do it purely because of their own beliefs? And I think it's going to become a thing.
I have something to say to that in a second. First of all...
Oh, okay, yeah.
Go ahead. What?
Okay. I was just going to say, the face mask has become almost like a symbol of subservience. It is saying, I agree with you. I agree with the government. Please,
I will definitely be talking about that here in a moment. But the most pressing issue here is that if you ever read a super chat to me again, I'm going to gut you like a fish and drink your blood. This is my channel. I am the Führer on this channel. Okay.
I tried to tell you the super chat got there and you didn't hear.
I decide when the super chats are read. Does you understand? I decide. All right.
I was spited by Sargon when he missed the super chat. So.
Normally, we read super chats at particular points in the show, which are not going to be until another 30 minutes. So,
Okay.
but since you went ahead and popped that cork, let's go ahead and talk about Silence's super chat here. Yes, I do agree with you that I think there is some kind of cultural phenomenon happening around the mask. I see it with my mother. I see it with people that I hear talk at shops I frequent. It's almost like it's become an indulgence mixed with a bonding thing that people are going through, because at one of the stores that I regularly go to, the guy who owns it, he has a big rack behind him where he has different masks that his customers have bought him and brought him. And it's kind of like this cultural phenomenon that some people seem to even enjoy. And Vera's in the chat, so she'll back me up on this. When she was here visiting, we were in another store that we go to, a gaming comics and collectibles store that I wanted to introduce her to. And there was a guy in there, and I shit you not, he said, I hope that the lockdown never ends because I like wearing a mask. I have trouble socializing with people, and it makes me feel better if I can cover my face every day or some shit like that. That was so depressing to me.
I've heard similar things.
Evidence, do you experience anything like that around your neck of the woods out there in the Rockies?
Oh, I was just thinking, I mean, if this is going to just keep on with being ridiculous, maybe we should just ramp it up to another level to expose it. Just all start dressing like the Michelin Man or wearing those Naked Gun movie body condoms out in the public.
I love those movies. Oh, it's so funny.
You know, it's so weird. It feels, it also feels like some sort of clown world boot camp. As well. I mean, the stats don't justify it. You see leaders throughout the West in some of the most locked down countries going on personal junkets all the time, getting together for gatherings that violate the rules. They lay down for other people. It's almost as if everyday folks are being challenged by leadership and their oligarchy backers, basically implying we're going to keep doing this until we're stopped or until you stand up.
It's, yeah.
Yeah. Kizza, you've been quiet for a few minutes. Do you have any mask stories or mask commentary to drop?
I mean, not me personally. I mean, I use public transport a lot, and it's become law to wear a mask, even though there are a few people who don't wear it. But, you know, we don't, from what I understand here, we don't have the same type of refusal service like you Yizz across the pond would know more about. And
well,
also
not in my area. We don't really have that here until recently, which unfortunately I found out about when Vera in the chat came to visit me a week or two ago. We found out that just recently in the local city here, they have a mandatory mask policy that just started. Even though the COVID numbers are going down, the deaths are going down. So why now? Why the emergence? Why the enforcement? And I get so angry about this because I keep going back to this is a mix of a psyop and government control, and the people that like government and like to manipulate us, and the bureaucrats and the pencil pushers that think they're doing an overall good for sycophantic reasons. They want to just do things to make themselves seem like they care, and it really grinds my gears. It makes me angry.
Well, one thing that popped to my mind is that what if it's the opposite of what they're telling us? Masks should have been brought in as a way to, in theory, if they worked, which they don't, they would have been brought in an attempt to slow down the rise in cases. They were brought in at the opposite time when cases started going down. Now, why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's a mix of what we've already talked about, plus the election season coming up, plus they know that as the weather cools here in the West, people are going to get sicker a lot, and we're coming up on flu season. So I think a lot of the people that actually work in medicine, they're behind this 100% because they're the ones that have to deal with the sick and the infirm all the time. And speaking of the effectiveness of masks, masks are effective for certain things. For example, I was a professional driver until this year. Because of lockdown and stuff, because of taking care of my mother, I don't have any contracts and I barely pick up any jobs. But I would usually wear latex gloves and a regular M32 or whatever the hell they call them now. Just a regular disposable face mask. I wore those a lot. Number one, it was because I was doing a lot of medical transport, and I live with people and take care of people who are immunocompromised. So primarily, it was to keep me from spreading anything I might have picked up, and it was a sort of a sign of good faith to the people I was driving that I cared about their health. So it was a mix of a responsible professional thing and a caring about my loved ones thing. But that is not what we have been told. We have been lied to about why people in the medical profession wear masks. They wear it to keep the spittle from their mouth and nose from going on to immunocompromised patients and specifically open wounds and sores. So just think about it. Everyone listening to this chat, for your last 20 or 30 years, every time you go to the doctor or the dentist, most people that are employed by that facility, they don't walk around in masks and gloves all the time, do they? Even though they're around sick people all day long. So why would they expect that? Why would they expect the rest of the populace who doesn't work 12 hours at a time in front of sick people all day long? Why would they think that masks would slow the spread or stop anything? That doesn't make any sense to me, because if you are in a facility where people are sick and they're basically dying petri dishes full of sick, if you don't wear a mask and gloves all the time in that situation, why would a bunch of healthy people going to Walmart have to do the same thing? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Sunny Jim in the chat has hit the nail right in the head that I was hitting at earlier. They actually suppress the immune system if worn. Now, I can't establish I can't claim for the veracity of that, but that sounds accurate to me. If you're wearing this thing, it messes with your breathing patterns.
Well,
it covers
it
a portion of
with
your
breathing.
face.
The vitamin D deficiency he's talking about, I'm pretty sure it comes from the lockdown, making people stay indoors and getting less sun, which facilitates depression and a lowering of the immune system.
Yes,
So
and
there's also that as well.
I've suffered from that in the past quite badly, so I can definitely speak for that. But yes, I think that these masks actually will make you worse, and they were brought in to try and make cases rise again. That is my theory at this point, because
that's
it's
a little too conspiratorial for my tastes. But,
fair enough.
But I do think that
it's just a theory, a politics theory.
No,
Thanks for watching.
Hey, you can think whatever you want on my channel, as long as you don't hate Western content and hate our people. You're pretty much welcome to speak your mind here.
The thing I hate about the masks, though, is as I said earlier, just the absolute double think regarding them. Like they'll tell you to wear the masks to protect them, but then because of that, people are fine to like hug each other, and it's like, well, no, if you're so terrified about this virus, you shouldn't be hugging each other. And it's at this point where I am on the level of doing like the equivalent of a full isolation protest, in that I'm going to tell everyone around me, if you don't want to come around my house because you're afraid of this virus, I don't want to see you at all. I don't want you to come around to the front door to talk to me, to give me a hug on my doorstep. I don't want you anywhere near me because you are that terrified of the virus. Clearly, you should take it seriously and not be anywhere near me if that's how afraid you are. That is, I am about on the level of doing that, which means basically I will from then on only be seeing my girlfriend in person ever. But that's what I have already. So basically it means I miss out on the weekly visit from my grandparent. But I've really lost patience at this point.
Evidence, if you don't mind me asking, do you live alone or do you live with loved ones?
Oh, if I may just share a thought while I'm thinking about it. We already know how to get this down to level medium and freeze it there, and that came from the summer of mostly peaceful protests. If we want to defeat this together, we need to protest, loot, and riot.
Well, Philadelphia's getting on with that, apparently.
Because ontologically, scientifically, those who get together in great masses, shout insanities, and then burn everything to the ground, clearly are immune to this horrible disease. So why are we not all doing it?
Yep. Yeah, collapse social distancing to conquer COVID. That's the that's the way to go. So who knows? Maybe in a week in America, we'll see a serious reduction in this. And if people are so concerned about it, the way these officials talk about how it lurks everywhere, why aren't people required to wear goggles and gloves? And why are couples that share 800 pounds between them freaking out about the maskless, risking their health? You don't seem to care about your own health. I don't mean to be rude, but since you got up in my face and started screeching and talking about the health issue, I, I hate to resist such an inviting invitation. I'm sorry, what was your question, Yizz?
I just wanted to know the kind of people that you live with or live near, and the people that you associate with regularly. Do you have a wife and a child, anything like that?
No, I don't have any family. The people I interact with are a mix of single folks and some family people. But the people that I'm around, they're not paranoid about this. Some of the people I talk to at length just don't buy into a lot of what's being said. I mean, even if people just watch mainstream stuff, I mean, just the amount of times they've contradicted themselves about things like masks, or the media will run a story and say that, or imply that white folks out protesting lockdown spreads COVID, but when anti-civilization thugs get together, it may have even helped COVID be decreased, like the same newspaper saying that kind of a thing. I mean, people notice. Some of them don't, but they will. They will more and more as they start to feel personally attacked. Much like I did, much of why I'm here was realizing that there are very powerful people who want to harm me just for the body I was born into.
Mm. Yeah, Go ahead. No,
I was just going to say, I thought it was already proven back in April that the virus is racist to non-white people. So surely the virus then had a change of heart and became very progressive, which explains that weird turn of events that you described, Evidence.
Wait a minute, Ku Klux COVID? That's what those 3 Ks stand for?
Well, I mean, according to the UK, ethnic minorities were overrepresented in infections and deaths. Hence the joke, the virus is racist.
I see, okay.
Or it could be that ethnicity and race are actual things.
It could be that, and it just affects people differently because of genetics. That's true.
I would hate to imply that there's only one kind of bird out there in nature.
You gotta be careful with those hate facts. You'll get banned.
I mean, it could also be because in their terms, BAME individuals have a propensity to be poorer and they're thus less healthy. Shock horror, but Sunderland was one of the big numbers in cases and deaths, and well, you don't exactly have too many rich people in Sunderland, do you?
Well, yeah, but don't forget, there was tons of deaths in London, and let's be frank here, London's meant to be the richest city in all of the United Kingdom.
But London also has the biggest wealth gap in the country as well, doesn't it? Because doesn't London have one of the biggest homeless populations as well? It's it's the two extremes mixing.
Yes. Well, yes, my city. City. I'll put it this way. I mean, my case, that is true, Geist. I mean, my case, I live in a city with about 150,000 people, and we have the 4th worst homeless rate per capita. We're worse than fucking many northern cities.
Oh, France has been horrendous, Cogburn. I posted a thing into the StreamYard chat that I advise don't look at that if you're already in a bad mood, because I've nearly put my fist through my monitor when I first read that.
Read what?
It's in the StreamYard chat.
Okay, I'm not going to share that.
That's fair.
I can't see it.
It's a rather infuriating countenance of a woman who was required to wear a face mask during childbirth, and that's just going to make me so
horrific.
Angry. I will probably leave my house and say something about PewDiePie and screw the optics. So.
And use various gamer words.
Yeah. Yes, that will make me want to use gamer words.
That's fair enough.
The optics, and maybe go visit a particular type of place and remove a particular type of kebab. So let's not do that.
Oh dearie me.
No, just Yizz, if you want to get away with it, just be really, really fat, be very ginger, and claim you're a communist, and you're A-okay.
Speaking of communists, did you see that Vosh was on Tim Pool's stream the other day? That was interesting.
Yes. I don't. Okay, I don't like him. I don't want to talk about him.
That's fair.
He's a grifter,
Tim is
and
a-
I'd rather him just not exist. So,
And also Tim,
we're not
and
going to
also
talk about. We're not going to talk about the V bag on this channel.
no, Tim is an idiot. By the way, he should never have brought him on. And as V correctly stated, you don't give these people sunlight. You
Right,
said
exactly.
Sunlight's
put-
the best disinfectant. You just need to know how to treat it.
well, sadly, Zen, if that was generally true, no sense. And here's
People
the
like
problem.
Vaush, the disease of Vaush, a tumor like Vaush, the only treatment for that is helicopter or bullet. That is it. There's no other dealing with someone like that. You don't talk to them. You don't argue with them. You don't debate them. And a piece of shit like him is only out doing this for the money and the attention anyway. Like just leave him alone. Let it die. Like just leave him
I
alone.
disagree because like his thing, he's already got an audience, so you've got to address it. And Sargon's video pointing out his points. The problem with Vosh is that he's. I hate to have to say it, but
in my opinion, that is pointless time wasted when you could be talking about something important. I think
when he's got an audience of hundreds of thousands, some of them could probably do with deprogramming, and if you can even deprogram 1% of them, then it's worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, but
Sin of Pride, it's not worth watching. It was 4 hours long, and there was only about 20 minutes of reaming. It was not great.
The problem with Vosh is that it's hard to catch him out live. You need to go back into it generally. Although in fact,
we're still talking about this. All right. On to issue 2.
Sorry, yeah, we were talking about Trump.
Like the McLaughlin Hour. Do you guys remember the McLaughlin Hour, or am I old?
What's that?
I remember
on to issue 2.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
It's an old debate show. Anyway, leave a comment on this video if you know the McLaughlin Hour. Be sure to like and subscribe. Click that bell.
Hashtag McLaughlin Group Rise Up.
Yeah. McLaughlin Group Rise Up. Speaking of rising up, you can rise to the occasion and give me money. I mean, you can put your questions and comments over on the Entropy widget, which I put a link in the chat for now. And if you would like to give me cash dollars on my telephone, you can do it with the Cash App right there. So moving on, I would like to wrap up talking about COVID with how it is going to affect the voting in the big U.S. election right now. And then the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about the election and fallout from that. The thing that I think has really surprised me about how the lockdowns have affected voting is it seems like even though we were promised the red mirage, I don't think that that's happening because we can only track early voting by who's registered as what. We see, oh, hello, Right Reaction. Hi, Ralph. We see happening right now. A large percentage of the early voters are registered Republicans. And we have not seen any articles or YouTube channels or, let's say, cultural phenomenon of people who were registered Republicans deciding abruptly to not vote for Trump. But there are tons of articles and videos and testimonials on Twitter of people who supported Democrats up to now that have decided to jump off the Democrat bandwagon or have just refused to vote for Biden. So this is looking really, quote unquote, bad for the Democrats right now because it is exactly the opposite of what they predicted happening with the whole red mirage. And I think, in my opinion, the lockdowns had a lot to do with that because you had a lot of people home all year or not working or paying close attention to the news, and normal people that don't engage like we do were paying attention and watching what was happening. So I think that sort of red-pilled a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't care and just get their news secondhand through mainstream sources and lies. So what do you think about that evidence? Do you think that that's that the lockdown had a major impact on the voting?
I can see. I'm hearing some noise that's kind of distracting me a little bit. Is there a way that could be muted or handled, or do we just need to work with that?
I'm not hearing it. Everything's quiet except listening to you right now. It must be on your end.
Oh, huh. Okay.
Forgive me if you're hearing
I'm looking at my audio balancer right now on OBS. There's nothing. It's just you and then dead quiet when nobody talks. So I don't know what
Maybe
you're hearing. It
there
could be interference with your headphones or something.
there may be some fifth columns in my country town. I'll have to investigate later. Uh, I Gosh, there's a lot I could say about this. I think the lockdowns, whether intentional or not, could also get people more amenable to mail-in voting where they may not be otherwise, which concerns me because the amount of corruption that can happen there. I mean, I haven't really trusted elections in America since long before we got to this Dos Equis crisis. And
I like you calling it the Dos Equis crisis. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I feel bad for the Corona Beer Company. They've taken a lot of hits, so I'm trying to balance things out by calling it things like the Tecate infection or the Dos Equis virus or the
Hey,
Modelo
how about the
goof.
Budweiser bug? That's pretty catchy.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to go with something Espanol, but yeah, the Budweiser bug or the Miller Time Mayhem, or we could just
Or
there are
how
myriad
about the
options.
Coors Coof? The Coors Coof.
The, that may be the domestic winner for this one.
Yeah, I like the Coors Coof. It's easy. It's got alliteration. That's a good one. But please go ahead.
Yeah. Another thing that I think about a lot too is that both sides more and more have been feeling that they're going to be robbed somehow if they don't win. Like, you have both sides believing that there can't be an honest win if the person they don't want gets in. So those are my two thoughts. One related to lockdown, and then just that other one I added there. What do you think?
I think that with the amount of exposure, especially from Project Veritas, that we've seen about the corruption within mail-in voting, I feel uncomfortable making a prediction about how the mailed-in votes are going to affect anything, because up to a certain point, I thought, yeah, well, maybe there's just going to be such an overwhelming number of people that vote in person. The corruption and the swindling is not going to affect anything. But now with the stuff that we've seen being exposed in the last few weeks, I have no idea. Like, there might be some great plan already in the works for cheating to win. I don't know. So I I don't have any predictions on that. What about the co-host? Do you guys have anything to say about that?
The one thing I will say is that if Trump uses some kind of executive action to unanimously end lockdowns across America, I will be very worried for him, because the best way for him to have deflected all of the moronic implications that he is to blame for every single individual who dies of COVID, the easiest and most obvious response to that is simply to say, you are states, I don't have control over you, ergo I'm not a dictator, and your deaths are on you. What more do you want of me? If he ends these places' lockdowns against their will, that immediately undoes that for him, and I will genuinely be concerned about a potential second attempt at what's the term when they drag him in front of court? Impeachment. I'd be worried for him. But yeah, like Article 10 seems to be one of the strongest parts of American freedom, and I'd be very worried if he does anything that sort of even seems to be in breach of that. So, I mean, that's just from what I've heard from what you said earlier. I don't know if it's more complicated than that.
Well, he said something similar to that in the last debate, no, in the first debate. My bad, in the first debate. But I don't think that it's going to influence the outcome of the election. I do think that if he does win, that will be something that he should drive home. Is that the deaths, the violence, the craziness of the riots, the rioters that are arrested and then let go. None of this can be pinned on the president, because that's not the president's jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And if he just keeps hammering that home, there's no way that can be denied, because the whole reason you have a republic set up is so one dude at the top doesn't dictate everything in every place. So
yes, but as you say, if he did undo the lockdowns, then that undoes all of those talking points, unless he's doing it in a sort of more a sort of de-incentivizing way, like he's saying, well, if you lock down, I'm not going to give you financial support. You need to support
that's
yourselves.
different.
I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with that.
What Evidence? You're American. What do you think that it would be un-American of the president to use a incentive disincentive program to quote unquote force the end of the lockdown by withholding municipality federal tax money if they decide to continue lockdowns?
It would depend on how it's done. I mean, I can see that being American, if you will, or constitutional if Trump and his team can point out how any of the states are breaking any federal laws or breaking any points of the Constitution by doing so. If I may, while I'm thinking about it, if I could just give two pieces of advice regarding the election for Americans out there. One, if you're going to go out and vote in person, don't wear anything that gives away your political leanings. And I say that in part because over these last few months, BLM, Antifa, and Black Bloc and so forth have traveled up to 3 hours from big cities to go to small towns and try to cause problems. So be careful how you present yourself on that night, and be on the lookout for yourself and yours, because these people aren't just leaving it to big cities, and they're more likely to expand even farther out this next time.
True.
Now, I know I'm just a lowly Brit who you guys escaped from hundreds of years ago.
You're funny.
Oh, you're still our big brothers and sisters. Don't you worry about it.
No.
You can't tell me what to do, Mom.
No, exactly. But I offer the quiet advice of I believe the absolute opposite is that the right has been, again, political terminology. The non-commies have been slowly being suppressed in many ways, and I think that if we had to capitulate and hide our political symbology, then that's just another step in the wrong direction. I believe people should obviously keep themselves safe, stay in groups probably, but I don't think you should hide who you are. It horrifies me that it has to be something that...
Showing who you are in this election may keep you from being able to even vote.
I know you're young, but yeah, exactly. You tell him, Evidence. You tell him.
I was just gonna say, the folks may not even be able to vote if they're wearing gear showing their political affiliation. I mean, we're going to be lucky if a lot of voting booths are even standing, thanks to Soros and Bronfman's revolutionaries out there. So I get about not being suppressed, about not being scared.
I call them the Rothschild stormtroopers. That's what I call them.
Yeah. Goldman Sachs sent us to clean up this here town. But I get about not living in fear, but this is also a tactical move too. I mean, just going out like that could end up with a ton of people getting wounded or killed. We've already seen people in the States getting their faces caved in or getting murdered just for wearing Trump gear.
And sometimes even if they're non-white.
Yeah. There's actually a black gentleman who got half his teeth knocked
busted out. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's wise to.
The establishment don't care what color you are. If you're patriot, they'll hate you.
Well, no, they care. They care, but
only when it suits them. Yeah, but on that point, me personally, I mean, I honestly wish Trump went all in and basically terminated international travel back in January, because legally speaking, he can't do that, from what I understand.
Yeah, but we can't go back in time.
Yeah. No, but also the fact that he should, by default, withhold all... Sorry, excuse me a sec.
All right.
But no,
I'm back. Sorry about that. What was...
Oh, dearie me. No, but
it wouldn't be a stream if Kizza didn't have connectivity problems. I swear.
It's not connectivity problems. Someone's talking to him.
Yeah, like worst timing. No, so rude. Anyway, as I was saying, I was rudely interrupted. Personally, he should have freaking terminated any quote-unquote federal aid or interference from all the Democrat states that were literally burning themselves to the ground. Just said, sorry, you're on your own. Go F yourself.
Yeah, early on when the riots first started, and just a couple of weeks in, we started seeing governors and DAs being reticent to do anything about it. Even back then, I started saying, okay, this is happening. The urban warfare has begun. We have to start fortifying rural America, cut off funding and support to these cancerous leftist cities. They made their bed, make them sleep in it. If they're not going to maintain the law and order and structured cities that we fund with our federal tax money, then cut off aid to them and let them deal with their own problems. But of course, that didn't happen because nobody with any sense or that actually cares about us runs anything.
Well, yes, but the problem is this is why I love V when he talks about the concept of power, where the left are the ones who ultimately get things done. Like, the problem is, seems to be many of those who are not leftists seem to be trapped in this, seem to have this principle trap. And I'm like, the ultimate principle is you ultimately is your life and your liberty. And if you're going to substitute that for someone else's rights and liberties, you're a dead man walking. You are a dead man. These people don't care about us.
We are going to move to check the question widget and super chats now that it is 3 o'clock. So we are going to start over on PayPal because I haven't checked it for a bit. Let's see here. Sent us $5. Thank you, Sean. I do appreciate that, my friend. Thank you for coming to visit today. I know I've seen you around in chats before. Thank you for being here with me on my stream today. Thank you. And let's see. On D Live, we've got Free Gamer, Holly, donating lemons. I appreciate that, my friends. Thank you very much. And then over on the Entropy widget, we have a few things. Just 2 things. We have Silence is Leaden, sorry. Silence is Leaden with the super chat that we read earlier. We will address that after the next one. Sensum Communum. Thank you very much, my friend. He sends 10 British pounds, 10 British sterling. Keep up the great work, Yizz, he says, and gives me a thumbs up emoji. I do appreciate that. Thank you for helping me have the money that it's going to take to eventually, hopefully, get better equipment. I'm up to about $180 in my Get Better Equipment fund. So slowly but surely, it is adding up. And thank you all for donating to me. I do appreciate that. So that is everything. We don't have anything in the question widget. So I will be checking again periodically in the next 20 or 30 minutes. We will get back to check the question widget and donations again. But now I would like to move to the aftermath of the election. This is the bulk of what we're going to talk about the rest of the stream today. I am going to listen to someone else first who is an American. Evidence, how do you think, regardless of who wins, the next couple of months is going to be? Are we in for a rocky Christmas this year or what?
I fear that we are. I mean, we don't know till we get there, but based on my research and seeing what these anti-civilization groups have already done, considering how they acted in 2016 before we had the George Floyd incident and Ahmaud Arbery, et cetera, and all those, and before we had all this talk about there being a stolen election or people perceiving it that way, I don't see things going peacefully. I mean, maybe the oligarchy controllers of democracy's circus will somehow bring order, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, there's so much acrimony, there's so much distrust going on in America. There's already been so much violence. The anti-white stuff's getting ramped up even more.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't see it going well in the next couple months, but we still have the opportunity to talk to people around us and to be as prepared as we can and to do our best to manage ourselves. But yeah, America's immediate and distant future, as things are currently constituted, don't look good to me. It doesn't mean it can't change, but
true.
Yeah, as I look into my quasi-effective crystal ball, I'm not that hopeful about November 3 or the next couple months afterward going smoothly and or peacefully.
I'm hopeful in the long term because I think that our people need a crucible. Pun intended, because I will shill Jason's book later. But
nice play.
Thank you. I do think that we are going to have a crucible, and I think that our people, our country, the Westmen in America are going to be better for it. But I have a couple of things to say about the upcoming times of trouble. I think it's important to realize the people who are behind the media lies, the people in our government who seemingly hate the American people and who hate the American way of life, and who arguably even hate Western civilization itself. A single election, no matter if our guy wins or not, is not going to make those people disappear. All of those actors, all of those useful idiots, all of that street rabble, they are all going to exist with the same fervor after the election, no matter which one of the, no matter whether the giant douche or the turd sandwich wins. Those people and what they think and believe are still going to be here, and we're going to have to deal with them. Now, when it comes to dealing with them, everyone listening, tell everyone you know to not engage in petty violence. Don't put on your regalia of war and go out into the street and start bashing up Antifa or anything. That is exactly what our enemies want. They want us to go to jail, to throw our lives away. They want us to be the boogeyman for the next news story. You must deprive the anti-white agenda of giving them their white whipping boy, their white boogeyman that they can point to and say, aha, this is why. We have to deprive them of that. So, Evidence, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think you make a good point there about how the circus controllers are going to still be there regardless how this goes, which speaks to what we need to do. I actually made a short video about some things that I think we need to do if people want to check it out on my main channel. It's called Dear Whites, Let's Unite in Love, Vision, and Commitment and Stay That Way. And it speaks to we need to organize ourselves mentally, physically, and logistically so that we can have enough quality people in place. So when an opportunity does arise for things to shift back our direction, we can avail ourselves of it. We need each other regardless how this election goes, and we've always needed.
Channel now to get the link. Do you want me to link BitChute or do you want me to link YouTube?
Oh, it's not on BitChute. If you wanted to go to my main YouTube channel, sure. It's also on my library too. In case my privilege, power, and supremacy fail me at YouTube, people can check out the video at my library. It'll be on my BitChute soon, I imagine. But yeah, we need each other. We're being targeted as a group in America, and we're also being targeted across the pond as well. So we need to unite where we are, and we also need to be very careful that we don't get sucked into bad-mouthing any of our ethnicities or financially exploiting any of them, and most of all, ever lifting weapons again against each other to fight a war for some bastards who don't care about any of us.
Indeed. I'd like to thank Bertie Bassett. He's a good man. He helps manage my Discord. He's been a friend of mine for the last several months. He's actually been the book I wanted to talk about today, Crucible by Jason Kuna. It's a book about his crucible going through high school and realizing the power of anti-white sentiment in our organizations here in the West. And it's called Crucible, and the link I will be sharing in the chat. Bertie says that he's been over on the WRT Discord. He's been reading Crucible for some folks there, and that's mighty white of you, Bertie. I appreciate that. That's pretty cool.
All right, does WRT stand for Whites Rock Tyranny, or Whites? What does that stand for? WRT.
The WRT, I think that is. Just a second. That is the. I don't know what WRT stands for, but it's This Is Why We Fight is a British live stream community for nationalists.
Oh yeah, I like those folks.
Talk about how to build communities that will help us survive the trying times. It stands for White Rose and Thorn. That's a beautiful way to say it.
Okay, yeah. I like those folks. I've heard a couple of their streams.
They're
doing good work.
lovely. I believe that they're on DLive and DLive and YouTube.
They stream a lot.
they stream about every day, and they have communities for just men, for just women. It's a really good group. Let me share it here. I'll share it.
Yeah,
in
they
the
are
chat.
white positive party animals.
Yes, they're kind-hearted people that genuinely care about the well-being of Western kind and Western civilization. They are very deeply connected to the British Isles and wanting to help the indigenous people of the British Isles build the communities and create the education and camaraderie and brotherhood and sisterhood that we're all going to need to survive the job coming for us. So I definitely recommend you guys check out them and go spend some time with them. I've been on one of their streams, but I haven't gone and downloaded it to put it on my channel yet. I will get around to that one day when I can. But final shill. I was on Poman's channel yesterday, and that will be going up this weekend on my channel as well. Poman and I had a good couple of hours of a chat, and it was quite lovely. He's a fun man to talk to.
I was just hoping to mention to make a small just response to what you were saying earlier, because you kept talking, so I wasn't sure when
I
to
know,
come
I
in
know.
about it.
I
but,
talk a lot. I talk a lot.
No, it's fine. Hey, it's your channel. But what you were saying about don't start anything, keep yourselves safe and all that. I'm not gonna lie, I find myself heavily in disagreement with you there,
Why?
because
Because you want our people to go to jail?
quite frankly, I think our only option is to do something soon, because the way I see it is there are three categories of people in the most simplistic sense.
Okay, I'm
There's
listening.
there's the patriots, there's the globalists, and then there's the in-betweeners. And obviously the in-betweeners is the large majority. But so long as the patriots hide away and stay hidden and meek, the in-betweeners will continually be subverted by the globalists. And it's getting to the point where in the UK, our right-wing party is not a right-wing party, and it is
Correct.
it is a tactic that I have seen continually used for the last decade or 2 decades, or for as long as I've witnessed things,
Okay.
and it's not working. It is
Well,
only
let
pushing
me
us
share some
further.
wisdom with you on this. Then let me talk for a minute
Okay.
here. I know I
Yeah.
talk a lot, but like you said, it's my show. Let me
Totally.
share some wisdom with you here. I don't ascribe to the left-right narrative anymore. I don't think that people are left-wing or right-wing, and I don't think parties are left-wing or right-wing.
No, of course not.
I think that's part of the dog and pony show that has made us into what we've become, and part of the system of oppression and harm to the people of our countries. So I don't even want to talk about left versus right. But you are right that we
Yeah,
don't have
it's just
we no longer have conservative parties that genuinely represent the people and the people's wishes. I agree. So let me tell you why I disagree with you. There are strong-hearted warriors of our people that I talk to privately. They want to do things. They want to fight, but I caution them not to, and I tell them not to. I tell them to train, to hone, to stay connected to community, and to find things they love, people they love, find wives, find children, build community connections, build a gun club, or a book club or a cooking channel, whatever it is that you are passionate about and makes you love, because people will fight the hardest when they love and they're driven by passion and positive emotions. And what dovetails with this, now is not the time. Even 1,000 men at the height of their biology, at the height of their training, even 1,000 coordinated men that would try to take up arms and do violent things against our enemies right now, they would be summarily and instantly defeated. They would be smeared. They would likely be killed. Their families would have their lives ruined. And it would only be a great woe to our people right now for that to happen. So that's why we must fight the war on the battlefield that exists. We can't choose the battlefield right now. Right now, the battlefield is information and a psychological, spiritual war. That's why right now, people like me are on the front lines, not our strong, valorous warriors. If we ever need them, it is not the time now, because that is not the battlefield. Right now, the battlefield is words and ideas and spirit.
I will say that when I said that, I was not referring to any kind of illegal action or rising up. What I meant more was simply protecting you and your own in the legal ways that you Americans have given yourselves, because you're lucky to have those rights. We don't
Well,
particularly
okay.
have those here.
First of all, those
Well,
rights are
depending
no
on the
longer
state.
protected. Those rights are not really protected anymore. We have the illusion of the right to defend ourselves right now. Look at all of the cases in the last 6 months of white people pulling guns, pulling weapons, defending their property, defending their children, even a pregnant woman pulling a gun to defend herself against anti-white jackals. She's the one that gets hounded in the press, has her rights taken away. We only have the illusion of the right to protect ourselves with firearms in America, and we have to be very, very careful going forward from this point.
An illusion works just fine if everyone believes in it.
Well, I know, and I'm not saying that we should just lay down and do nothing. What I'm saying is we have to be smart about our warriors. Our warriors have to be intelligent about what they do. We even have to be careful how we protest doing unarmed things, or we'll get slandered and arrested. Like, let alone people that take up arms and do anything ridiculous. Like, we have to be very careful going forward. We have to build strong communities, and we have to fight the way that we can fight spiritually and mentally right now. And I believe that our people will realize that and rally around warriors that are wise enough to not draw the sword, and then they will have more followers behind them when the time to draw the sword comes. So that's my wisdom on that.
I think if I may underscore one of the things I think Zenn's communicating is that we do, where we can, where it's legal, we do need to assert ourselves. I have no problem with people being strong, with people calling out anti-white BS, or with people calling out any bogus mainstream narratives. That's all perfectly fine. I just don't want to see any of our current people or any people who are moving this direction unnecessarily endanger themselves in situations where they wouldn't win anyway, because we just don't have. I mean, like you were just saying, we have people who are being hounded and imprisoned and defamed because I guess they're being racist by not letting themselves be choked to death, by not letting their cars or
I'm
themselves
sorry I laughed, but no, it's farcical, but it's true. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, like if you don't let your property or yourself get smashed to smithereens, you're far right, or you're a conspiracy theorist, or you're a neo yada. It's don't initiate any violence, but that doesn't mean that you have to be weak, and that doesn't mean that you're
right.
not. Yeah.
That was my point I was trying to make.
No, if you are out and about and you get attacked, by all means defend yourself with whatever force or whatever weapons you have available. Just don't go looking for it. And don't go out of your way to start shit.
That was exactly what I meant, though, was because you were talking earlier about this idea of, like, you've got to hide your political allegiance or they will come for you. It's like, well, then you have to defend yourself, because as soon as I was raised on a very simple on several simple ideals, and one of them was,
before you continue, we meant if you reveal yourself, things will come for you that you can't defend yourself against, like getting doxxed and having your bank account taken away. People will destroy your car, that kind of thing. It's not a self-defense type of thing. It's protect yourself and your family on things that you can't just pull a gun to defend yourself against. I'm pretty sure was what that was about.
Well, one of the
I will isolate. Who is this?
That's Kizza. Is he all right? No, I think he's okay. Oh. No. I was raised on one of the beliefs that.
Can everyone hear me? Okay. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you fine now.
Yeah.
If the terrorists can intimidate you into changing your ways, then they win, whether they are still alive or not.
That's true, but changing your ways doesn't mean that we just completely forsake the concept of having an organized militia group or the right to defend ourselves at all. It just means being very responsible and wise with how you go about protesting and displaying your patriotism and your concern for your fellow man. That's what I mean by that. I'm not saying everybody should pretend to be a stupid cuck. That's not what I'm saying. By all means, display your patriotism and your warrior spirit, but do so intelligently and wisely to not throw your life away or get your loved ones in danger. That's what I meant with what I said.
Yeah. As for me, I would argue that ship already sailed a long time ago, and frankly, the right were wrong to sit back. Personally, they should have went even more ruthless and aggressive in terms of the doxing aspect, and we wouldn't be in this mess to begin with.
That's an argument that I have been swayed on, actually. I used to say that we should stand on morals and not engage in the informational warfare of doxing and shaming people and trying to get people fired, but I have changed my opinion on that because I'm not just going to stand here and die on a big pile of ethics. Like we have to actually fight back, and I think using the information age to fight back against our enemies and try to turn their own poison against them. Hey, if you can do that, more power to you. So I have completely changed my mind on that tactic.
No, the reason why I would disagree with that is simply put, these people gained this power because they were able to do this and not gain repercussions. Now, if you were to demonstrate that there would be repercussions against these types and you were more ruthless and aggressive than they would bow down. This is basic animalistic logic.
What do you mean exactly? What are you talking about here?
Okay, let's take, for instance, when Antifa started causing the trouble, right? Now just imagine a bunch of patriots went straight in, instead of waiting on the police, went straight in and made an example out of them. Would Antifa still be causing trouble today? Or would they have been put exactly in their place?
Well, I hear you, but the reason that I don't think that that's a wise tactic is, like I said earlier about my 1,000 trained men example. Police, government, DAs, mayors, governors, even federal courts, federal politicians, the United States military, these people are already poised to respond to organized violence. And then you're up to the mercy of public opinion and the courts for the aftermath. That's where you will be savaged. That's where you will lose your livelihood and your family will be destroyed. So even if 5 patriots go make an example out of people, who's going to know about it if it gets buried and the only ways to share it are controlled by our enemies and they squash it? Like, that's why I do not recommend people do that. Not at this point. Maybe one day, if we have a massive cultural shift and we still have these idiots doing that, maybe then and only then would I even consider such things. But not now. Definitely not now.
Oh, Antifa's already been.
Yeah, I mean.
Sorry. I was gonna.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt that, but my main point is we tried this tactic of not get involved in violence, and we've still been attacked. People have been doxxed. People have had their bank accounts closed, etc.
Yeah.
So way I see it is
that was how I was putting it earlier. Is that we've tried this tactic for a good 10, 15 years now, and it's gotten us nowhere. If anything, we have lost so much. Was my point, and yeah, I mean, in fairness, I think like this idea of just some sort of I don't know what particularly you meant by that sort of by what you were saying about when Antifa first started, but it would need. I think everything is just on a personal being. Defend what is yours, defend yourself, defend what is yours, and that's also. I will admit that the one problem is that our enemy is organized, and we are not. And when someone makes a lightning strike, there's not much you can do about it. I saw a clip recently from Philadelphia of a small clothing store, or it looked like something like that. It was like a small store. And basically there was just people just hanging around in there. They were doing their business, and basically it was like a flood entered the room. It was like a swarm of piranhas. And no, that's the analogy I make because they came in the front door. There was a minute where it was just bodies pressed against each other and movement, and then a minute passed and they all flooded back out the door, and the shelves were bare. And it is horrifying how fast it was, and you can't defend against that. I will admit there is almost nothing you can do against that. But I think.
And one thing I want to bring up, PADFA in the chat said, there is an argument that you don't interrupt your enemy when they are making a mistake. So I understand. And he followed that up, of course, or she, I don't know, it's just a picture of a bird. Whoever that is followed it up by saying, in the meantime, we are suffering casualties, which is true. But there is some truth to that first comment that right now, our enemies are doing a really good job of exposing themselves in a way that they have never done before. And our people are we are red-pilling people and getting our people to wake up faster than ever. So don't go out and become a statistic. Like, at least
it does feel the opposite. I mean,
Well, I don't know about that, my dude. I don't know about that.
Well,
I hear people
okay,
talking.
Obviously, I can only talk for the
Yeah.
UK, but just the number of people who just seem to be fine with the things that are happening right now, it's scary.
Well, it ain't like that in America, I don't think. I think it's different over here.
I mean, I would argue, Yizz, and I would say this to the chat. Answer me just this one thing I would ask everyone, right? Let's take the United States and foreign policy, right, as an example. Well, actually, I'll use the UK as an example, right?
Okay, well, okay.
In the last 50 years, we've had to deal with the IRA, the Argentinians over the Falklands, Islamic terrorism, as well as communist terrorism.
Yes.
Right. What do all of them have in common in regards to how the UK dealt with them?
I'm waiting. Go ahead.
They tried appeasing them.
Yeah.
And it did not work. What ultimately works with these types of people is ruthless violence and aggression. So, for example, let's take the IRA when they were causing trouble in the 60s. If the UK government was smart and learned from history and said, "Right, Ireland, you got 24 hours to tell the IRA to stand down, or you're being turned into a crater."
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I heard about like when Brexit was like being underway, and I heard people say like, "Oh, there's the island question," and I went, "Well, what's the island question?" Because obviously I'm only 23. This doesn't come up in common conversation too much. Fuck our history classes. So I started researching, and I went, "Hang on. So terrorists rose up, and you gave them what they wanted? What?" And I don't think I've ever been so disappointed in my country until I found that out. And I'm just like, oh god, no wonder you're in such a shit situation now.
And ultimately, they still were causing trouble after they got what they wanted. And from what I understand, they violated the agreement, but we're supposed to honor it. Fuck off. Don't give me that bullshit.
Okay, all right. Well, all right.
Sorry.
The Islamic question.
Let's entertain okay. Let's entertain Kizza here for a minute then. In the United, there's a lot of popping. Everything good? You good?
Oh, sorry. I was cutting my mic when you was talking, so that's why. So.
That's okay. In the UK and in America, then, Kizza, how do you think it would be wise to start implementing violent response?
Very simple. I would argue the first people you should target is the media.
Okay.
So
you think
you may want to phrase that carefully.
Okay. Let me put it this way. The media are byproduct. The media are ultimately puppets to their masters, right? Now, the media, there are certain people who they will not criticize.
Correct.
Now, what you have to do, and I'm saying this to many people here, if you become one of the subjects that they do not criticize or talk about, you effectively own them.
Okay.
Now, what I'm saying is, and this has been proven in the United Kingdom, especially with the aftermath of Brexit, if you go after these journalists and make them live in fear, they won't mention you. They won't dare say your name because they'll be living in fear.
I don't see how you could become such a terror.
Unless we were the anti-Antifa.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, okay, from the get-go, though, Kizza,
yes.
if you we'll go back to my 1,000 trained men example.
Yeah.
Let's say with 1,000 trained men that you could somehow in one weekend do a bunch of violent, terrible things that I don't condone, and only target known media personalities, pundits, that kind of thing, right? Let's say that happens. You can't just expect that expression to not be immediately used against us, to cause immediate harm and immediate oppression of our people if you do that. And you haven't gained any ground, you've lost ground. So you think that I'm wrong about that part, right? You think I'm wrong that would happen?
I would argue, as history has shown, our approach has been the wrong one. I mean, if I were to bring up feminism, for example, we mocked it, we debated them, and we mocked it What's happened since, like, let's say Gamergate? Oh, the same people behind Gamergate are the ones going to the UN.
That's different,
causing
Kizza. Feminism and LGBT stuff, that's just a distraction. That's us fighting our own reflection in mirrors or waving smoke. That's tilting your head at a windmill. If you start going after media and our real enemy, that's real. They play for keeps.
Yes, and they're quite happy to unperson us. So why shouldn't we play the same game against them?
Because we don't have that power. We can't unperson. We can't unperson someone who has $1 billion and is invested in 5 different media conglomerates. We can't deperson that person.
You'll be surprised.
Even if you end that person's life, someone else will step into their shoes and control their money, and you've not gained any ground other than destroying your life. That's why I don't like this tit for tat terrorism strike shit, because it only hurts us. It's terrible.
Well, at the moment, what we're doing now is effectively hurting us outright. People like us are literally getting executed in the streets, and
True.
the media are literally praising it and defending the executors.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry,
I get that, but I just don't see. I don't see using violence as an option to lessen the oppression and to lessen the problem against us. I don't see that helping. I only see it exacerbating the problem.
Well, I would argue World War II is the prime example. We tried appeasing the Nazis. It did not work. What ultimately worked? Slaughtering them.
Oh, come on now! Don't start that.
It's a fact. If you want to maintain control, you have to be the most ruthless, violent dog in the field.
The same people that I'm talking about that bankroll the things you're telling me to go against are the same ones bankrolling the people in that fiasco. And they're still doing pretty well, don't you think? So if you get all the countrymen together to have another brother war, like, it's not going to go well, is it? It's just going to be more blood spilled, and we're going to be in the same debacle. We're going to be in the same chains.
No, the reason we're in this position is because we didn't finish the job, and B, because we gave up our values.
No, we're in this debacle because we picked the wrong ally and we didn't steamroll Russia and the Bolsheviks, if you want to be specific about it.
Well, I would argue in this case, my country should have stood by its values and executed Karl Marx.
Blimey.
This
is all gone a bit beyond what I'd said, where all I was saying was practice self-defense, and besides that, do what you want with your own, sort of within your own rights.
Yes, but this is my point when I say I've lost patience waiting.
I get that. But look, okay, Kizza, even if I didn't ethically disagree with what you're talking about, which I do, even if I agreed with you 100%, I would say we don't have the power to do that. We don't. We cannot wield the kind of power you're talking about to use force on the scale that would be necessary to make a change. Because it would only be skirmish battles. It would only be little hits, and it would be immediately labeled terrorism.
Right,
and it would end.
I do agree, at least.
I'm just saying this right now. We had to basically change our ways because of the IRA. And we did not learn our lesson. We've done this with the Islamic question. We have not learned our lesson. These people ultimately understand 2 things: power and fear. Now, how do you remove someone's power?
Well, okay, I don't think that skirmish terrorist violence is a way to remove well-connected global billionaires' power that own governments and militaries. I think that's just ridiculous.
Hell, it worked against the monarchy.
If I may say a couple things about this in the American context.
Please, Evidence, please.
Here in America, just speaking from America here, our enemies are already losing some power in some ways based on how things are going. For example, support for BLM and Antifa has plummeted. There have been towns that Antifa has gone into, and they have been physically repelled. And when everyday Americans see videos of these anti-civilization asshats heckling veterans in wheelchairs and elderly couples and so forth,
and pregnant women.
Yep. Yeah. They go out of their way to be lovely to anyone who even slightly deviates to whatever the prevailing narratives are. But so even without us initiating violence, we're already having victories and narratives shifting. We're already having victories and keeping them from being able to cause the kind of trouble in smaller towns that they want to cause. Uh, so I don't I don't see how it would benefit us uh, to initiate violence. Personally, I understand that the world can be violent and sometimes it's necessary, but personally, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the domestic violence. I'm sick of the military-industrial complex violence and
Me
so
too.
forth.
Preach.
But
Preach.
but what we can do right now is we can keep pushing back against these narratives. If we get censored online on one platform, start up another one. Offline, we share stories to people who don't know what's going on. We get our heads right. No more white guilt. And if people come into our town, we don't start violence. But if they start violence with us, then we have every right to kick their ass. And
Yes,
that's
and also
and that's
that
already
type of thing.
happening.
Yeah, that type of thing's
Yeah.
already happening. Like in my local
Yeah.
area, there are people out here that shoot guns in the country together. We'll go to the range sometimes. I talk to people that are fishing down by the lake. People are already talking about, we ain't going to let that shit happen here. We got each other's backs. Like, that's the kind of thing that goes on when you talk to people about this shit around here. So there is a willingness of people to use force to protect their local communities, their families, their church groups and stuff. So we do have that building over here. Maybe where you are in the UK, Kizza and Zen, maybe you don't see any of that or feel any of that over there. I don't know.
No, like actually, when you speak about the no white guilt thing, it goes back to my point about the counter Uri plan. Phase one,
Uh-huh.
moralization.
Mm-hmm.
What moralization? Being unbelievably ruthlessly patriotic and seeing anyone who is basically a communist as a pure enemy,
Yes, that's
and you
that's a
identify
good thing,
and
and
make an example out of.
I do try to curry that type of um, morality and patriotism in the people that I do my best to inspire in the Anglosphere. So, and of course, if I have people that aren't in the Anglosphere listening, I do appreciate that, and I hope to inspire you too. It's just I'm a native English speaker, so that's why I say that.
Yeah, but this is my point though. If we don't have to be we don't have to be anti-communist. We have to be actively anti-communist.
Right.
I'm talking being more freaking red-pilled and anti-communist than the Eastern Bloc is.
Okay, I got
I'm
you.
talking being more ruthless than Pinochet was.
Blimey. Again, this, as I said earlier, this has slid quite a bit from when I was simply saying,
We're
don't
also rather
hide
off
from who you
topic, but
are.
this has been really fun. So I'm having a
Zen,
great
you
time.
watch it now, you radicalizer. You watch it now, you radicalizer.
No.
I see you're Estonia and I raise
Hold
your
on,
Romania.
hold on. To everyone in the chat who's wondering why I'm so angry about this, it's a simple point that I've been incredibly patient for the last 8 years. I've seen
Yes.
no improvement, but all we've done is lose ground consistently. We have
Yes.
tons of people being murdered, on our side being murdered, being censored, unpersoned, basically being financially ruined. And all I gotta say is enough. And I would argue, dare say, and I would argue history has proven this, if you be very ruthless and aggressive from the very beginning, I would argue almost the vast majority of this would never have happened.
Yeah. But what I was saying earlier is you said like, oh, if you wear, if you wear pro-Trump regalia, that will lead to like literally you not being able to vote, and you know what, that's something you need to fight back against then, because if you hide from it, then that enables it. It was all I was trying to say a while ago, but that's where we've kind of slid from.
Yeah, I understand that. Here's my concern with that is that say you do that in what we call swing states, where the race is likely going to be very close. If you go out wearing stuff like that, our enemies are going to be looking for that, and people may not even get to cast a vote that night by wearing that gear.
Because compromised elements within the feds, they will seize upon that to lock down an area, and they might strategically say, oh, well, this person, or there's been a terrorist threat here, and they lock down a specific little community that they know is probably going to give a few thousand votes towards the party that the regime doesn't want.
Well, see, if I've learned anything, it's that if you cause that to happen, if that happens, there will be a whistleblower who gets out the information that happened. The only way we catch our enemies is to make them make mistakes like that, and to literally tamper with an election. It sounds like one hell of a mistake that they could get brought up on.
Well, sadly,
that is a thread that you could pull all the way to the top.
Well, I mean, I would argue that our enemies have exposed themselves for what they are and made multiple mistakes. But the simple fact is that too many idiots out there honestly believe they're shit.
Well, yeah,
but people like us are making a difference on that, though. Like
watching people's capitulation for lockdown,
getting our people to realize all the BS and see through the gaslighting. We are making a difference. We just got to keep at it.
No,
I'm not going to lie, Yizz, it doesn't feel like it.
No, but Yizz, I really don't want to be black-pilled about this. I really don't. But my point is, until the so-called, I forget the term you referred to normies. What I forget the term you used for normies.
Vagues.
Zanes, right? Until the Zanes are literally have to be
vagues. VAG.
Sorry, vagues. Sorry, my mistake. Vagues. Until the vagues have literally got I'm arguing, dare I say, to accelerate the issue, so the vagues have literally they flip a switch and think, Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on? And say enough is enough. I mean, simply put, this people talk about the silent majority. Silent majority is worthless if there is a tiny minority being loud and obnoxious. The so-called silent majority has to be a loud and vocal majority and say enough is enough.
I completely agree. I don't believe in the whole sleeping beast of the silent majority. I don't believe in any of that. That's a cope, in my opinion. That's a complete cope.
Yeah, and this goes back to my point regarding, and I don't wish to go back to UK, but let's say, for instance, the UK question, like I brought up the IRA, right?
Sure.
Now, let's say with Islamic terrorism, instead of the UK bowing down and pushing all this Islamophobia BS, what if the UK said, no, fuck this, fuck Islam, and basically went out of their way to be anti-Islam?
Well, that's good, and I want our people to be that way.
No, I mean... So, sorry, Yizz, to interrupt, but I'm talking be so anti-Islam that even people like freaking Amju Chowdhury and his freaking cronies were too scared to even come out of their homes. And they were actively fleeing the country.
Well, I mean, if you can raise that level of vehemency, I assume that would lead to something. But
the problem is that the vagues, as Yizz terms it, they're so easily led by the propaganda of the left. I mean, you remember when UKIP even tried suggesting that there are extreme elements to Islam that maybe need looked at. Literally, all it took was a few headlines, and we were shredded.
Yep, I remember that.
I remember
that because the now dead Hitchens talked about that in the 90s and the early aughts a lot. How we are being invaded by Islam, and they have created this word Islamophobic that they will one day use to remove our voices. I remember him saying that in the early aughts.
Yes.
Gosh, if only Charles Martel had known about the perils of Islamophobia.
Yeah, I mean, to quote Christopher Hitchens, Islamophobia is a made-up term created by Islamic fascists used by cowards to manipulate morons.
Yes, but the problem is that we are vastly outnumbered by morons, and, well, what are we to do?
I don't know about the moron part. I think most people, even of average IQ, are not morons. They are just normal people, and normal people live in the ways that their parents showed them, and in the way that they were taught by people around them, like media and the education systems that we have. Unfortunately, they were basically groomed into thinking things weren't the way they were. So that's why we have to do what we can to help, to use the word red pill, just to help get awareness and the spirit of our people into normal people. And I see that where I live. And I hear from other Americans it's happening with normal Americans in many places in America. That's why I don't want to ruin it all by endorsing or condoning people that want to do violent stuff, because I think that's shooting ourselves in the foot right now.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back. Sorry, go ahead, Evidence. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I still find a lot of people who simply don't know this information. It's not because they're dumb or because they're bullheaded. They've been subjected to a lot of propaganda and distortions and outright lies ever since they were in elementary school, just like pretty much all of us have gone through. People tell me that all the time, like, gosh, I had never heard that or I'd never considered that. That changes my take on things. I mean, I even look at one of the things that brought me here too was learning about Rotherham.
Don't get me started on that.
There were
Yeah,
people that, like when I used to live out
but what I
west,
was going to say,
there were people who were democratic socialists and they didn't even know the word Bolshevik. They didn't know who Lenin was. They didn't know anything about the USSR. They knew nothing about the manifestations of socialism. They just thought it meant having welfare programs.
Yeah, which is frankly a lie. But also,
I did cut you off, Evidence. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, what I was just going to say is that we look at how much suppression there's been of information there, but even sometimes with the suppression, people can see through things. Like the media presented folks in Coeur d'Alene as these vigilantes because they went out into town and they had their firearms with them, but people, even without us, some of them are going to figure out, like, well, wait a minute, they were doing that because Spokane was just burned to the ground and it isn't that far away. But for people who do require information, a lot of them, they just don't have it because entities like the BBC or CNN and so on and so forth will suppress the information or delay it or won't report on it at all or will spin it into something absurd. So we're still in, I know this is frustrating for people who have seen us experience a lot of BS, and I get that, but we still need to get info out there because a lot of our people, they just don't know this stuff. And I meet people all the time who are perfectly fine to move more toward this direction. They just hadn't had the information or the analysis or whatever it is that's been kept from them.
Yeah, and like we talk about a lot of times, the way that I really start these conversations with people is around regular things. I talk about riots. I talk about excuse me. My voice is leaving me. I haven't slept well at all this week. I only got one good night's sleep. Sorry. Talk like if you see something on the news or you hear people talking about, oh man, did you see the so and so, or did you hear about that guy that blah blah blah? You can bring up, yeah, and did you notice that only really started happening in like the last 20 years, or that only happened in our city going back 10 years ago? That's when they put up these big Section 8 houses, and that's when we had these new programs be forced in here. And that's a really good way to start red pilling people on demographic change, mass migration, and get them to start realizing that there has been stuff going on under their nose that nobody told them about, but somebody had to be doing on purpose. And so that's the way I really start these conversations with people. So just keep that in mind. You'll have to find out what works for your area, but it's not too hard to figure out the avenues of conversation to start red pilling people where you live. You just got to work at it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, on this point regarding Rotherham, if the grooming gang scandal that happened not only in Rotherham, my own city had a grooming gang. If that doesn't spark an outrage, which makes an example out of these groups, then I don't think anything will. I honestly do not think anything will.
Well, the thing
Are there
is,
some
like,
folks who just
I
don't
have
know
a
the
feeling if that
totality
happened in
of what's
America,
happened?
a bunch of angry fathers with shotguns would have sorted that out.
Oh, 100%.
Yes, but this is
guys,
my point, though.
In general, you guys aren't armed over there, so that might have been part of it.
Yeah, thanks to Tony Blair. But this goes back to my point, is that I forget who said it best, but violence is where all authority derives its authority from.
That's
yes, I agree.
That's Starship Troopers.
Oh, is that Starship Troopers? Okay.
Yes.
That's my point. When it comes to these types of people, you have to be the most violent and aggressive individual if you want to maintain control with people who only deal with violence.
Even if I grant that that's a truism, which I don't want to do yet, but even if I do grant that's a truism, I still go back to it is not time for that tactically, even if I agreed ethically. We can't do that yet. We don't have the social zeitgeist that we need for that to be effective for us yet. We don't have that yet, man.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Yizz. This is the thing what people don't understand. Antifa in America didn't exist 10 years ago. That's my point. I mean, yeah, Antifa, the original group, were founded by the German Communist Party in the Weimar Republic.
It was 1918, I think.
Oh,
Hold up,
either way,
they
it was
founded
during.
an idea?
Yes. Fuck off, Joe Biden. And it's my point. When you have these types of
Hey,
people,
everybody!
right?
There's jokes in this episode.
Yes. And this point's my point. And when people talk about, oh, you're an Islamophobe and all that, don't freaking deny it. Just don't be like, no, I'm not. Just go outright aggressor on saying like, it's like what? Like be overly aggressive on them and say, what the hell did you just call me?
I've always said if I ever hear that term, I say you can't be phobic to something that you should be afraid of. Phobia is defined as irrational.
Have you ever watched my deep double analysis on Islamophobia? Because that was my primary thesis of that video was Islamophobia is not real, because if you are a Western person, if you are Western kind,
that is a rational fear.
Fear of Islam is 100% rational. It is not an irrational fear. And I made a whole video about that.
Can I just say
I'll even link it. It's one of my oldest. It's one of my oldest videos.
Yeah,
I'll
go ahead. Go ahead, please check it out, please, ladies and gentlemen.
I just want to say, Kizza, today you are absolutely earning your Doom Guy profile picture.
Yeah, but this is my point though. Like, I mean, I've made this joke. I made this joke to the group that me and Yizz used to be in. But I point this out, and nobody could change my mind on this. Mm-hmm. Doom Eternal is the video game political statement that all communists should be executed. I know that sounds hilarious and batshit, but think about it. What do communists do?
They take and take and take.
No, they destroy everything they touch. They're basically a parasite. They're parasites, right? What happened to Earth when the demons invaded when you start the game up? Oh lord, they've caused so much destruction and violence and chaos, and the planet's basically almost dead. Doom Guy turns up with his freaking shotgun and says, enough's enough, and goes all in.
Okay.
Goes all in.
I hear you. I hear you. But
and I'm just saying, if you had, I say this referencing other media here, if you had a 501st Legion that turned up in Portland during the riot and they did not give a fuck and just turned up with fully automatic weaponry and just unloaded, do you think the violence would continue? Or do you think the entire world will think,
at that moment it would stop, but I don't think that would stop what's happening.
Yeah.
No, but yes, I would counter that by simple. When you have, it's like think of people talk about a pendulum and it's swinging and smashing against the wall. When you have something like a giant hammer that smashes the pendulum back with far more violence and force, that pendulum goes flying the opposite way into the other room.
Well, okay,
the problem is that's a bit of a two-dimensional way to see it, because the problem there is that's an escalation.
Well, think about it this way: you don't have the hammer to smash the pendulum, but our enemies do. Let's say that happened. Let's say that in New York City, that there's 200 guys that have just had a fucking enough, and they go out to a BLM protest where they're rioting and screaming at people, and they use lethal force to just go absolutely ham, right?
Yeah.
I think that the authorities would make an example of those people, and then the type of force of intimidation you're talking about gets used on our people. Their lives get instantaneously ruined. They might even be killed by cops or the military. Their families would be shamed. Everyone that worked with them would be shamed. Like, it's not... We don't have the hammer and the tools to use that kind of force against our enemies yet, man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like, we don't have that.
There's an extent to which there's a respect to be found in a more scalpel-like approach. For instance, with the Cal Rittenhouse case, people always point out it's like he was very cautious in the way that he would only open fire on the ones who were specifically going for him.
Exactly.
And then left everyone else there. There is a level of respect that you show there, and it helps you a lot in court, and it helps you a lot in optics.
It does.
Which is why I always appreciate when there is the non-escalation of sort of the Proud Boys, where they effectively make shield walls. Now, see, that is what I would want to see more of effectively shield walls rather than offense.
You have a person running for president of the United States calling the Proud Boys white supremacists. You have all of the legacy media and mainstream and lamestream media calling them white supremacists, slandering them, even though the leader of the damn thing isn't white. Like, this is the level of power that we're up against. That's why I don't think. That's why I don't want our people going out and protesting and making displays, because right now it's only terrible for us.
No, but in fairness, the Democratic Party's a nightmare. I really don't think they have as much power as they seem to believe they have.
Maybe I'll think differently a year from now, dude. I'm just telling our people
a week from now.
Right now. Right now. Don't be fooled now. Don't engage in violence now.
Yes, but this is my point about power, right? You're only as powerful up until your next opponent. Now, if your next opponent comes along, is not feared by your power, and makes an example out of you, your power's gone. This is what I mean by the most basic animalistic mentality.
But life can't be summed up as a series of one-on-one engagements, like you're saying.
Yeah, life isn't Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, my dude. It's a lot more complex than that.
Would be a lot. I know it's a lot more complex, but what I'm saying is there's certain fundamentals which are consistently true throughout history and the animal kingdom. And all I'm saying is, hypothetically now, if you got enough pissed off patriots, because I've seen some of the counter-protests to BLM, you've got numbers. You've got numbers, and I would dare argue if the Patriots said enough is enough and caused the violence you're talking about, I would argue the public would be saying thank you. They'll be
maybe so, Kizza, but I am not going to encourage my people to do that.
No, I agree.
I am not going to encourage any of my people to go out and do anything like that, because first of all, I think that's ethically wrong.
Yeah.
Second of all, I think that would only hurt us. That's my beliefs, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sorry. I disagree with you on that. Sorry.
Well, I agree. That's fine. That's fine. I'm fine with you two disagreeing, but I'm just saying.
Oh, I know.
I'm just saying, like with the Islamic question, we try to be nice to them. They constantly regress to violence, and it's led us nowhere. I would argue if we were even more relentless and aggressive against them, we wouldn't have the problems we have today.
Well, shoulda, woulda, coulda. That ship sailed.
I think we need to see what happens in the next. Well, in the next week with the election, but also in the coming year. I think we need to see how the response of Trump is towards such things. I think we need to see how things go. Now, hopefully, best case scenario, he wins. And let's be real, if he wins, these riots start again. I hope he puts the hammer down. I really do hope he does.
I don't.
What do you mean?
I don't at all. It's not his position as the president to do that. If the people that run these cities want them to burn, let them burn. That's how it goes in a republic.
But to some extent, that's not fair on the people who are stuck there.
No, and that will force them to do something about it.
Well, I hope so, but the left are kind of useless in that regard. So I would hope that we see the National Guard being mobilized.
Well, I mean, I would argue when you have an enemy within, you take out the enemy, even if it goes against your political leanings.
Okay, we are not a unified single state over here.
Yeah. Yes, I know that.
I don't want some terrorist fiasco gambit to lead America to become the Soviet superstate of America. I don't want that to happen. That's why I don't want that shit.
I would be agreeing with you, Kizza, if the riots were still ongoing to this day, but they petered out, and as sucky as they were in the moment, they are over now.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to Philadelphia for the last 2 days.
Well, now that's restarted, but fuck. I hope the people of Philadelphia.
Look, this is the thing.
Sort that out.
I would like to extrapolate upon "let the cities burn" comment I made earlier.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is, I believe that people must go through hardship and experience it firsthand to be fully educated on what's happening. Number two, the way that our republic works is important. Maintaining integrity and ethics matters. I am not to the point yet to where I will take anything other than what we have. We still have it a lot better than the rest of the world, even in spite of everything going on. I'm not a fool. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and be like, please help me, daddy government. Become dictator, Daddy Trump, and fix it all. Here's all my rights and freedoms. Fuck the republic. I'm not at that point yet, man. And I'm probably not going to be for a long time. I think that the American people have had a fucking enough. And if more of their cities continue to burn, I think you're going to see a lot more regular people wanting to go have their mayor's heads That's what I think. So I
See-
would rather see how that plays out than wanting daddy government to come fix it all with their big military dick.
See,
Yeah,
I
but-
don't. I disagree. It feels less that
Well, you're
the
British.
no, no,
Well-
no. But okay. The way I have seen things is that Black Lives Matter and Antifa have smashed these cities, and your belief is that these cities are going to say no, we won't tolerate that, and they'll, defend themselves. To me, it looks more like they've conquered these cities, and
No,
and
I don't think that
it's
they're
done.
going to defend themselves with violent militia action. I
Then
believe
what?
that
How
the
else are they
American-
going to at this point? Because it's clear their police aren't going to.
Okay, first of all, as bad as the videos look, the riots and the destruction are contained to small pieces of these massive cities. Number two, the violence, as you already said, is largely over. So I think if it does continue in pockets and these radical anti-civilization groups try to exert their dominance, we will see local pushback and the removal of the leaders and the DAs and people that have facilitated this. I think we will see that if this kind of shit continues. Now, I might think differently 3 months from now. I'm just telling you what I think now. Everything I'm telling you now is completely in a state of flux. I'm only telling you what I know as things are right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm
sorry.
I'm just saying I've seen, I've seen such a lack of response to this point that, it feels like you're sliding towards a country where law and order doesn't matter, and it's terrifying.
I
Well,
mean,
like I said, I might feel
Indeed.
differently in a few weeks or a few months. We'll see.
Oh,
I
but-
mean, me personally,
We'll
I
see.
mean,
We'll see.
I argue, maybe I'm speaking as an ignorant Englishman here, but I would dare argue if the founding fathers were resurrected tomorrow, they would have happily have slaughtered Antifa and
Yeah,
BLM.
but that's a different time, dude. Like we live in the now. We can't look to the past and all that. Like it's
Yeah.
done. Okay.
Well, I mean,
Did we have
again,
a third
but
topic, by the way? Because it feels like we're going in circles. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
I
also
do
about the
apologize.
founding fathers thing. Our politicians of all stripes have been taking a big old dump on the Constitution for decades. It don't matter. None of that shit matters anymore. What matters is what we got right now.
well, I mean, this goes back to my point. We
I
don't
know that was a
value
gross
something.
metaphor. I'm sorry. I'm just getting
No,
tired.
but this goes back to my point about values, right? If you don't respect something, you don't fear it. If you respect something, you fear it. And the problem is these days people have gotten far too comfortable and have allowed an enemy to usurp them from beneath them.
Just a second. I'm typing something in chat that's important.
Oh.
Sorry, yeah. But yeah,
just, if I could say something, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, sorry, Evidence.
go over there. Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
I was just going to say something for Zen. One of the things that's tricky about the American system is that, I mean, it's known as a system of checks and balances, but one of the ways that plays out too is that let's say we have a president or a federal leader who wants to put down these riots across the country. He may run into some of the same problems too, like with immigration, where the law is that you're supposed to deport illegals, you're supposed to deport violent foreigners, but things like sanctuary cities can get in the way. Things like federal judges can get in the way. And then it comes to a point: is the president going to exercise more authority? Is he going to be Andrew Jackson, or is he going to be Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, exactly.
But so some of the things that Trump may have wanted to do, and I don't really think I don't think any American president's really the one running the show, but
No.
some of the things he may have wanted to do, he's got state officials and city officials getting in his way. It's the same thing as when a president issues an executive order. Yeah, the president can say, I would like to see this law implemented this way. But then that even happening depends on how the federal bureaucracies are going to interpret it and apply it.
Yes.
And then how the state bureaucracies are going to do that.
And he brings up a good point about what I said about our republic. I don't want it to change. I don't want daddy dictator to fix it because, like he just said, we don't know who's going to be in that seat next. And just like let me use the Democrats here.
No,
in
no,
America
that's
as an
fair. I
example.
get it.
Like they are the ones who lowered the requirement to get a Supreme Court justice into the seat. And pundits and right-wing people and Republicans and centrists at the time said, hey, Obama administration, this is stupid because as soon as you're not in power, what if all of a sudden there's a Republican supermajority? They'll just pack the court. And look at what's fucking happened. And now they're boo-hooing and boobling and a-koobling about it, saying it's not fair. Well, it's like, you dumb mofos, you're the ones that changed the rules. You changed the rules legally, and now you're upset with the legal rule change.
Well, yeah,
so that's the
classic
narrative
use.
that I want to avoid with the whole the feds coming in to fix everything. I don't like that.
It's the classic trait of the anti-patriots. It's they will use whatever means to get their power, even if it means contradicting what they said 5 minutes ago. It's what I mentioned during a stream I did on, I think it was Tuesday, where we basically went deep into all of the stuff with Biden and in the second debate. And one of the things I pointed out was back in January and February and March, he was telling Trump to stop fear-mongering, yet now he's effectively saying, you didn't fear-monger enough. They'll say whatever they need to critique you and to make the uninformed watchers think that they're right.
Yes, and this goes back to my point about why the Mirror Veritas thing is. These people want to stand for a certain ideas. You make them live up to it, even if it means they end up 6 feet under, and you do not compromise.
You can do that if you have the power, and it doesn't, and it's not destructive.
Donald Trump's the president, and as Obama and Bush proved, he could pass as many executive orders as he wants to fuck over his enemies indefinitely.
Yeah, but he's only president for a limited time, and then a precedent is set, and you don't want them to have those powers.
Yeah.
If anything, we should be dismantling their ability to use those powers, which I would like to see. And again, which is why I keep saying is I really hope he sticks to the Article 10, not Article 10, 10th Amendment of I don't interfere with states, therefore you can't blame me for those states. But they blame him anyway, and if we see him lose, that's going to prove that people don't care about principles. And it's going to be a damning day for America.
But then this goes. I'm sure
this will all be solved if he disavows imaginary white supremacy just one more time for the Chris Wallaces of the world.
One more time.
No, but this goes back to my point then. Right? These people want to play a dirty game.
No, I know.
You have to be willing to go all in on the dirty game, even if it means they end up 10 feet under. If they start complaining, you don't freaking back down. You say, you just whisper in their ear and tell them, you did this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be uncompromised with these people.
I get that, but everything comes back to me wanting our people to have a future.
Totally.
You understand that?
My mind is...
Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt, Zen. Yes, in the UK, when we decided to go to war with Nazi Germany, right, we effectively ripped up our entire political system to go into war with them. We basically gave up our parliamentary democracy, and we went all in on the dictatorship.
And that's because those who shall not be named gave it the gold stamp of approval, dude. We don't have that stamp. We don't have it behind us. We don't have the zeitgeist breathing wind into the sails for us. It's the other way around right now. That's why we shouldn't do this shit right now.
Right, so when the so-called thou shall not be named make it approval, when they, ironically enough, are inviting people who ultimately hate them?
Look, I'm just saying that this is not a battlefield for boots. This is a battlefield for thoughts and spirit. That's why I don't think that we should put boots on the ground for this, because it's not going to help us. Those boots are just going to be wasted.
Well, I would say this right now.
I've said this several times today.
In fairness, the thoughts and spirit have been losing for decades now, which is, I think, the point me and Kizza have been trying to. But I wanted to gather my thoughts again, because I'd been, since Kizza's mostly been talking, I've been able to think a lot more about the talking points. No, it's fine. I like it. Lets me gather my thoughts and figure out what to say next. If I may offer more evidence as to what I was saying earlier, which is do not compromise on your beliefs.
Yes,
that being, and obviously when I said that, I was referring to the hiding of your allegiances when you're going to vote, when surely that should be a moment of pride. Is you started the stream by pointing out that your local area has effectively cooked to the masks, and I guarantee you that will only have happened because a lot of people who disagree with masks in your area would wear them out of courtesy, and that is the first step.
Well, to be fair,
in my opinion.
To be fair, when I say in the city, I live rural, so the city I go into, you can walk across in like 10 minutes. It's very small. We're not talking about a huge number of people. We're
Yes, but
talking
still.
about the forced Section 8 where all the trash and the Gibbs and the Knickknacks live. And then the small amount of decent community built around that because it's an old city. That's it. That like and the mask ordinance there is
regardless.
okay. I don't think that that's a sign of most people in this area is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I
It's a
mean,
sign of the bureaucrats and the pencil pushers. That's what it's a sign of. And a lot of people don't even make you wear it when you come in. You'll go in, even though there's the stupid city sticker, and nobody in there's wearing a mask. And I'll say, "Do I have to wear a mask in here for service?" And they're like, and they'll just wave their hand and be like, "Nah, I don't care."
Well, that's reassuring, but it still means that they have that power. That's the thing, is if you have not pushed back, that if you're only going to silently reject it in those businesses, as opposed to standing up and telling the government, "Fuck you, I'm not doing this," then they're still going to keep pushing those laws, and then they can use that against you.
Okay, fair enough. But I
But
don't think pushback should come with random acts of terror at this point.
no, I agree. I know.
Or
I'm not.
ever.
I'm not agreeing with Kizza here. I'm extending my own points that I was making earlier. That's
Well,
all.
I mean, I would dare argue that the Islamists have proven that, and BLM and Antifa have proven that terrorism gives you exactly what you want. So I dare say, if we want what we want, we're gonna have to be vastly more terrorist than they are.
I've said this
I
several times.
disavow.
I want to say it again. Terrorism in a country like ours, in countries like ours, only gets you what you want if the powers that you don't see want you to get that. Do you understand?
Even though the so-called powers that be, it would be in very much against their best interests.
What I'm saying is, whatever you want to call it, the deep state, the big money, globalist elite, whatever you want to call them, traitors, good. Like these traitors that are clearly behind the zeitgeist right now, that are the fueling the zeitgeist. They want what they have to allow the demands or the outcome that the terrorists seem to want to happen. Because if terrorism was to work equally, then how come we don't see change when a synagogue gets shot up? Or when a bunch of so-called white supremacist guys like the Proud Boys march and pray and talk about we got to love God and country and love the Constitution, all this shit that they do. How come that doesn't change? Not that I'm calling the Proud Boys terrorists. They absolutely aren't. But they go out, they fight, they punch Antifa, they bash heads, and they are slandered and ridiculed and dragged through the mud, while the opposite of them gets what they want and furthers an agenda because it has power and money and connections behind it.
Yes, but I see. I'm listening to all this, and as much as I don't agree with Kiz's more extreme way, I listen to this Yizz, and it sounds like we just have to content ourselves to the rest of existence on our knees, because what we're doing now isn't going to win. And I don't think what he's saying is going to win. But my point is, it sounds like we're in a lose-lose scenario where no matter what we do, we're fucked.
No, we aren't. We aren't in a lose-lose scenario. Not at all.
Exactly.
It feels like
it. Thank you.
No. One, I understand why people feel like that, but getting to attach that feeling will be defeating for us as well. We already have numbers and narrative moving in this direction without us initiating any violence at all, even with all the media distortions that are going on. And given that we're already getting destroyed sometimes for defending ourselves, it's not a good idea to go out there and initiate violence, because as Yizz has pointed out, we don't have the institutions backing us up. Way more often than not, they have the side of our enemies. But in the meantime, as numbers do wake up because of all the anti-civilizational terror, because of people noticing the media lying, as those people wake up, as they get their heads right, as we come together and love one another and support one another, then we can have the numbers. So when an opportunity does arise, we can avail ourselves of that.
Yes.
But we can't do that if we're locked up in different prisons across the country. Let BLM and Antifa keep making their mistakes. Let them keep getting their asses kicked when they go to small town America.
Yes.
And then in the meantime, do our best wake our people. I know that it doesn't look good right now, but we're already being destroyed 100% for doing nothing wrong. So if we go out and give our enemies ammunition by committing random acts of terror to show how strong we are, how much we want to assert ourselves, what's that going to get us? I mean, we're not even united. We're not even united as a people. I'm not saying you are. I'm just talking in general terms here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just talking in general terms here. We're not even united as a people. So random acts, whether they be violence or just randomly abusing someone for not speaking English, none of that's going to serve us, to say nothing of how inappropriate some of those behaviors are. But we're not even together yet as a people. We're not going to get together if we don't act smart and we aren't cognizant to the context that we're dealing with.
Yes, well, and to sum this up, I would like to say, I don't have the answers. I don't have solutions. No. I've seen people in the chat asking, what's my solution then? I only know the questions to ask. And I only can tell you what I believe is best for us in the short term. In the short term, we have to win with hearts and minds, like Vera said in the chat, because, like I said earlier, the battlefield that we're on is one of ideas and mind and spirit and connectivity and community. That's how we're being attacked. So we have to fight back and create ideas and community and rekindle spiritual energy and unity and all that good stuff before we will have the legs to stand upon to do anything physical, if there comes a physical battlefield. So that's all that I can say on it, and I don't need to say anything else about it. That's all I got. If you don't think that that's enough, I'm sorry. If you think I'm stupid, well, tell me about it in the comments or send me an email. But that's where
Who wants to talk about pumpkin pie?
We can wrap up the show by talking about
I cut in on you at the end there. I apologize.
No, I would just like to make one final point.
Okay, then we'll move on to pumpkin pie.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, to evidence, right? As much as I would love to believe that sentiment, I would argue, in the grand scheme of things, it has not served us well, and we've basically outright lost out in all aspects. We've lost out big time. Whereas I would argue, if we went with more my mentality, yeah, we're going to be labeled the villains. But the way I see it is, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And it's better to be a villain standing up for your principles than to be a good man and stand for nothing.
I wouldn't say that I definitely get where you're coming from, in that a lot of these problems are because we didn't keep asserting ourselves in the first place. And what I'm hoping
we won't make that
is by bringing
again.
Right, exactly.
Oh,
that's what I'm hoping for this, where we could bring ourselves together, get our heads right, get the best information we can, and so forth, so that we don't end up in a state like this ever again. So that we don't.
But the problem is evidence. I would dare say, to get to the point where we won't make these mistakes again, you'd have to basically enforce effectively what I'm advocating for, but at such a ruthless level that even the most zealot of our enemies would be more scared than the Jews were under Nazi Germany.
Yizz, I'm really fearful you might not be able to keep this stream up.
I'm going to keep it up.
I do apologize, but okay, we'll move on.
No. Yeah.
But I've just lost so much patience. And to another point about hearts and minds, as the iconoclast pointed out to Lawrence Fox, where has our values and freedom of speech ever done anything to calm down Islamic extremism?
Exactly, it hasn't. Right? I get it.
Okay, now let's move on.
Let's talk about pumpkin
go ahead
pie.
And leave it there. Yeah, exactly. Thanksgiving food, yum yum.
We've been going at this pretty hard for 2 hours straight, so let's go ahead and wind this down and talk about pumpkin pie. Evidence, tell me something pleasant about pumpkin pie.
I'm for it.
This time of year, it's nice to smell the pumpkin pie, the pumpkin spice. I like going to the small Irish family-owned mix of gas station and family restaurant. They have their own kind of sweet tea this time of year. I don't know what they put in it, but it smells delicious. They also sell things like pumpkin pie and other victuals you can get locally here. It's just a lovely time of year. I love the fall. I love the harvest season. I love the winter. It's important in these trying times to look to your people, your religion, your family, your community, and smell things and experience things that are worth fighting and dying for if you have to soon. because that's what's going to lead to victory, is that passion and that love for your people, your family, your religion, your kin, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I almost never eat any kind of dessert unless it's for a holiday or somebody's birthday. And one of my guilty pleasures is having a couple pieces of pumpkin pie every Thanksgiving, including making like a preliminary meal about it, or the following day making that my lunch. It's about the only time I ever go off the culinary track in terms of what I eat. But yeah, Thanksgiving's a great time. I like the spirit of it. I like the food. I've been very blessed to come up through households of great cooks who have put on
That's
fantastic
fantastic.
Thanksgivings.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So
Yeah.
I'm not quite a chef, so I've not really had that sort of I can't offer much on pumpkin pie, but I can offer my stuff on pumpkins, which is my favorite part of Halloween every year, is the pumpkin carving. I'm always a
That is
big
fun.
fan of it.
I didn't do it this year because, well, there's not
Yeah.
a lot of community to be had this year, but I look forward to doing it next year.
I've always said if I ever get my own house, I think one of my favorite forms of self-expression will be pumpkin carving at this time of year, and just littering my front lawn, and like sort of like get I'll have like a nice little brick wall, and I'll just line it with different patterned pumpkin jack-o'-lanterns. Trying to see if I can find one that I made a couple years back in my pictures.
Sure, go ahead. Kizza, do you and your family and your beloved dog do any pumpkin or festival time cooking stuff?
Honestly, I haven't done pumpkin carving since I was about 12. And I mean, I'm not necessarily that big for Halloween, and obviously, I will say this because I don't think I'll be on the next time. Happy Thanksgiving to all Americans across the pond.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you kindly, sir.
Yeah, I know it's early, but I'm saying this because I won't be on the stream for a while after this one. So,
And it's work related, you said?
yes, due to work, yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah,
what I thought. You told me that a couple weeks ago. I remember.
I just
Yeah.
DM'd you a thing I made.
Yeah, I'm getting it set up right now, honey.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's the most intricate I've ever made. I've also done very simply like the Batman logo. That's a very easy one to do. I've also done the Green Lantern logo. I'm a fan of, but that is my most intricate one, which is the I believe it's got like the wings of freedom, or the wings of justice, which is from Attack on Titan.
Well, that's very cool.
It took a lot of work to
Nice.
do. I still need
really
to.
cool.
I've not had any practice in it for quite a while, but it's one of the things I feel like I really am going to miss at this time of year. It's a
I
shame.
appreciate that because, like we say in America here, Hawaii. That is a very Hawaii thing for you to do, to artistically carve pumpkins. I appreciate.
I love
approve.
pumpkin carving. It's delightful.
Yeah, me too. It's fun. Well,
Yeah,
my
I want
voice is
to
getting
say
out,
happy Christmas to my brothers and sisters across the pond. I know we say Merry Christmas here, but I'm just fine with Happy Christmas too. And we are family, so I'm definitely thinking about you while I do what I do here in America.
Indeed.
Same from me too. Before we go to the final super chats and check the question widget, there is one more thing I'd like to talk about and shill. Several people in the white positive community had a very fun time on my friend Fornull's music stream this Wednesday, and I'd like to share his stream. He does music streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. And if you'll give me just a moment. Okay, I had to get it on my copy-paste page here. Next Wednesday, I will be spending the evening on Fornull's stream with him. And not on voice, I just mean on the stream in chat, listening to the music. And I invite all of you here today to come and visit that with me next Wednesday evening. It'll be probably too late for the UKers because I think it starts at 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern time. So it might be kind of late if you're UK or in the EU. And also tonight, remember that over on Jason's channel, there's going to be Chuck Martell's Garage Party. So if you want to come hang out and see a pre-made garage party video, he will be premiering that later tonight for more white positive community. And again, on Sunday, we have the Going Free big community stream over on Jason's channel if you want just some more white positive community goodness. So now we're going to move away from shilling And we are going to go to the final Super Chat roundup and see if we've had any more donations. Okay, PayPal is clear, so we're going to refresh that one more time to make sure we're not missing anything. And okay, PayPal is clear, nothing new on PayPal. And we're going to check Cash App. And oh, we do have something on Cash App. Holly, who I imagine is Holly P here in the chat, both in YouTube and over on BeLive, sent us a lovely $25. Thank you, dear sister, for your wonderful contribution. I greatly appreciate that. I'll send you a heart over on DLive. And oh, hey, we have White Healing. White Healing over on DLive is one of the people that hung out with us on the Fornull stream. And hopefully he'll be there Wednesday too. Thank you so much, Holly. That's I think that just puts me over $200 in the community chest for my channel. So that's excellent. Thank you so much for that contribution.
What a great name, White Healing. Boy, do we need some of that right about now.
Yes, we do. White Healing is on YouTube as well. I know I see him on here sometimes. So thank you, White Healing. But he's over on DLive right now. A lot of us miscreants that have been chased away from mainstream stuff. Well, we're all over on DLive.
Yeah, we need that.
Go
we
ahead,
need that. I was just gonna say we need that freaking. We need the white mage giving us holy free, life free magic over here, and we need it badly.
Yes,
for those
we
who play
definitely
Final
do.
Fantasy, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
The question widget on Entropy is empty, but we do have a final super chat from our good friend Sin of Pride. Sin of Pride, I see him a lot of places and a lot of streams. Thank you for coming to visit mine as well and drop some shekels my way. He says, buy yourself a pint for this, Yizz. That being said, I have to believe the control freaks will fail in the end. Just don't know how long it will take. And I concur, my friend. I believe that we will persevere. We are a strong people. Like I say, oftentimes in my morning chat, on my morning walk chats, our people have the spirit of the warriors, explorers, conquerors, philosopher kings, wise leaders, and just tenacious businessmen that have sculpted the West and created the greatest civilization that this planet has ever seen. I believe in us, and I think we will persevere, but we just can't get lazy and fat and let those who are jealous of us and hate us steal it all from us. So I definitely think we will win. Let's all do what we can to carry our people forward to whatever glorious sunrise awaits us in the future. So with that being said, we're going to wrap things up here at the 2.5-hour mark. Evidence that violates community guidelines. Is there any projects or channels you want to shill here at the end? I'll definitely be sharing your links here before we get out of here.
All right, let me do my pre-shill stretches really quickly here.
That was cute.
I was just, I'm re-uploading a bunch of my stuff onto my main YouTube channel. It was taken off because I keep getting strikes, but I'm just going to put it all up there. But folks want to check that out, but be sure to check me out on BitChute and Library in case things don't last for me on YouTube. I've experienced a lot of censorship there, even though I haven't even used the channel half the time. But so check that out.
Certainly.
If anyone out there wants to contact me to send feedback or to brainstorm or to offer ideas about what we can do to help get our people's heads, hearts, and situations in a better way, I'm all for it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Evidence and I have been communicating on Proton Mail since I've got a Proton Mail now. So anybody that has ideas or articles or videos they want me to see, anyone who wants to contribute information or bring anything to my awareness for the channel, and if you would like to be on the channel, if you want to come have a one-on-one discussion with me or be part of a live stream, let me know. It's YizzTheEunuch at protonmail.com. I'll go ahead and type that in the chat here. And I would love to hear from you, whatever you have to say. And there we go. Boom. So, in closing, Zen,
hello,
Kizza, anything you want to shill or any projects you have coming up you'd like to share before we get out of here?
Sorry,
I'll quickly throw mine out. So I have a political one and a non-political one. So for politics, I am I say it's not really regular because they both have full-time jobs, but I tend to always be a co-host on The Shandies. YouTube channel is very small, but we're hoping to go somewhere with it. We had a lot of fun streaming and essentially doing an EFAP of the Biden-Trump debate from
Oh,
about a
cool.
week
Yeah,
ago.
I remember you shilling that, but I was busy. I couldn't join.
Oh, it happens. But
Yeah.
if you could go over and give him some subscriptions, I'm sure he'd really appreciate it. We are hoping. I'm not going to be. We won't be doing a stream for election night, but I think we're doing a stream the night after. So I'm not
Okay.
sure about that yet, but hopefully we'll have
I'm
something.
not doing a stream on election day because I plan on joining a couple of other people's larger channels.
Yes,
during that
think
period of
I'm
time.
going to be on a dragon someone. No, sorry, not dragon. Phoenix. Red Phoenix Rises. I believe I have an invite to be on their stream discussing it. But if you want a break from all the politics and the black pills, my Twitch is here. I will be streaming the final part of Alien Isolation midnight UK time, so that is in about 3.5 hours, because we are currently at 8:30 for me now. So in 3.5 hours, I'll be finishing Alien Isolation. So if you want to see me jumping at shadows and screaming,
Okay.
I'm
well,
sure
maybe
someone
we'll
will
do
enjoy
that
that.
together. We'll see. Kizza, anything before we wrap up?
Not much. I do apologize if I became very extremist zealot.
No,
with
no,
my
that's
passion.
that's
It
good.
happens,
No,
my good
no,
man.
passion and truth is what we need now more than anything. So that's good.
Yes, but
So-
as for myself, I mean, I might be doing another stream with or -1 on
Okay.
ends justifying the means. We did do a
we had a
second
good
one.
time with Bill when he was last on.
Yeah,
He's a good guy.
yeah. So I did do a second one, hopefully a third one. So go check his channel out. That is all -1, and his second channel, the ends justified the memes. And at the moment, I was in the middle of an email conversation with Ralph, potentially doing a video in the future. So hopefully,
have
fingers
fun.
crossed. If those, yeah,
No,
so,
no problem. I'd like to address something that Zenn said about black pills. You're only going to get white pills on my channel, baby. You come to Mama Yizz for white pills. I'm going to inspire you. I'm going to tell you wisdom, and I'm going to help you reclaim our destiny. That's what you're going to get from my channel, and that's what I want everybody to have. Everybody be white pilled. We're going to go forward. We're going to find that glorious sunrise together. Keep heart, keep your faith, and do everything you can to act smart and be dedicated to our people and the things that you have passion in, the things you believe in that make you happy. All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to get out of here tonight. Thank you, everybody. I see Reptile, Alex, Smokey, Nancy, Tefik, Rubadub. Oh, hey, Rubadub. Everybody in the chat, thank you for participating. Thank you for the donations again. Thank you to everybody over on DLive. We're going to go ahead and open the chest before we get out of here.
Was that one channel called The Ends Justify the Memes?
The Memes, MEMES. We're going to do
What a great name. That's another quality channel handle.
Lemon chest over
Nice.
here. Yeah, we're going to do a big 50 lemon chest. So let's go ahead and
The ends do indeed
here.
justify our memes.
So everybody that's on DLive, you got 30 seconds. Go over and hop in on the lemon chest. I tossed in 50 just to make it fun. So go and claim your chest. Go and claim your chesticles over there.
I actually have some memes under the name Sterling Murphy at Image Flip. Some memes that I think would be useful for our people now as well. If people want to.
Oh, great.
Yeah, just search Sterling Murphy Image Flip, and that should come up easily for you. But yeah, it's Links in the Shadows told me that White Rabbit Radio said that basically that this reality was memed into existence and we have to meme it out of here now.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
right,
I tend to agree with that sentiment.
I appreciate to whoever in chat has the Twitch name Fartwith for giving me a follow. Thank you very much for that and for the laugh at the name.
I got a good laugh at Fartwith earlier. Fartwith followed me too, I think. Either that or I noticed Fartwith, and I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. All right. Well, enough of that potty humor. Let's end on a high note. I love all of you. White positivity and white healing for all of us. And remember, keep heart and be positive. That's what we need right now more than anything. Speak the truth. And until next week, goodbye and God bless.
Ta-ta.